Okay, let's try this again now. Okay. Oh, don't mind me. And Alex. All right. Okay. Helios with his antler in the background, making all kinds of racket. Because I just let him do. All right, Caleb is. Come on. There he is.
Hey,
He's alive.
here I am. No, I still,
Yes, sir.
yeah, I don't want y'all to hear my truck. As I was getting here, I had like just left the house. I know it was choppy there with the internet too, so I was like, I'll just stay off camera and off.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I think Alex is going to continue to be off camera as well. Let's see here. Try to tag some folks while we wait for Johntae and Alex to come on back.
Hey, was Johntae trying to get on earlier?
He was, and I don't know if it was this like the order in which I did things, or I don't know if it's maybe I don't know if he's using a phone or a laptop, so I don't know device wise like what I needed to prepare for, but yeah, like I'd sent the invite, I tagged, and of course, you know, when I went in, bring him on camera, boop. Let's see. All right, so we have Alex. All right. Okay, so now it's Johntae. All right.
Hey, Alex, how you doing?
All right, how about yourself?
Hey, good. Good. Hey, thank you for joining us tonight, man. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, not a problem, brother.
Oh, definitely excited. All right, let's see here. Alex, do you have access to the comments? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the comments.
Cool. I just didn't know if you wanted to tag anybody that you wanted to have watch us. Since this was a little last minute, we didn't have a lot of time to kind of get the word out, and you know, so if you've got anybody you want to tag, obviously, feel free to go ahead and light it up.
I can, once it's over, I can share the live. Your lives remain up, right?
Yes, I do not delete them. So absolutely, you'll be able to send that to wherever you want, to the moon, to wherever it'll go.
Usually when I do interviews, like there's a lot of knowledge dropped and a lot of
Oh,
information, a lot of questions that can be answered. So hopefully it can benefit the community a bit to hear some of the things that are said and some of the things that are talked about.
that is 100% the goal. So I am glad that you are like-minded in that regard. That's the only reason we do this is like literally our motto is reach one, teach one. So I mean
Awesome.
you're in great company
That's a
for sure.
great motto to have. It's super important. A lot of people forget the fact that, you know, we used to hear it all the time when we were kids, knowledge is power. And
Mhm.
it is 100% key to all the things that are involved in being a successful breeder, being a successful pillar in the community, all of those things. Like you have to be well educated. Otherwise, you know, there's misinformation that's spread. So
Yes.
it's always nice to have people that are trying to share information and share knowledge because that's the only way to actually help build our community up.
Agreed. Couldn't have said it better. Again, totally why we do
It is.
this. So so I'll keep on trying to get Johntae on. It's not showing him as a viewer just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed. And then as he pops up, I'll add him. So everybody, tonight we have Alex Ferraro. He's, I mean, you may know him as a multitude of different things, really. Anything from a judge at the ABKC, a handler. You would know him as well also as the owner of Grand Champion Lucky. I cannot talk today, guys. Why am I even doing this? Grand Champion Lucky Luciano, which if you haven't heard that, you've been living under a rock. But definitely a good guy to have on tonight. We're looking forward to it. So Alex, what we usually do is we have you kind of give a brief description of basically how you got started, like what prompted you to get into the bully game um, and go.
Okay, so what actually got me into the American Bully was just honestly, you know, I would say fate. A friend of mine was in a really bad car crash, and when he got his settlement, he went ahead and he bought an American Bully from a guy named Marco Pimentel. It's Pimentel Bullies. He's still around to this day. And I saw the dog and I fell in love. I was like, man, what am I looking at? This dog is crazy. And the guy who had been in the car accident, he ended up falling back. He had spent like $3,000-4,000 on this dog, and then you know he blew through his money. And I saw an opportunity to pick this dog up, and I fell in love. From there, I went and bought her mother, which was Sassy from Ramon Sloan, which was Sloan Bully style pits because this was 2008. And Ramon Sloan, Marco Pimentel were both like heavy Michelin's guys. So I kind of fell in with the Michelin's Federation for a little while. I was big on their blood. Larry that had Goochland, I was really close with Larry for a while because, you know, Goochland was way ahead of his time. Honestly, Pimentel was ahead of his time. His dogs that I looked at, that was the base of my program, honestly. And they were what people would like now in overdone extreme
Yeah.
dogs. But for me, I was looking for more of the American Bully phenotype versus the Bulldog phenotype. And those dogs did have a little more Bulldog phenotype to them and some more features. So I actually transitioned over from that bloodline in 2012. So like from 2008 to 2012, there was a brief hiatus because I had this misconception that everybody in the dog community seems to have. Okay, I was going out and I was getting just beat belligerently in the ring, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I went up to this lovely lady who we all know to this day as Senior Judge Cindy, Miss McCliskey, and I walked up to her and I said, "Ma'am, can you tell me why my dogs aren't doing well?" And she laughed with her southern accent. I was like, well, baby, them's the bulldogs. And at that point in time, I was like, okay, back to the drawing board. So I
Oh,
did IWPA and APA weight pull with the dogs I had because not only were they very extreme, but these dogs had a lot of drive. In fact, Pimentel's Leonidas went on to pull 9,980 pounds with Ruben
Wow.
Jimenez, who I sold him to, and had the highest weight for a under 70-pound American Bully at the time. May still hold a record for it. But I did weight pull because, you know, couldn't have politics. I was convinced at first that like politics was the problem. So I went to weight pull. I was like, you know what, my dogs pull it, they pull it. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah.
Then I realized it wasn't political at all. I didn't understand. I didn't even read the breed standards when I first jumped in. Like,
oh,
as a lot of people don't understand, where we start isn't where you
Yeah.
finish. Like, I remember my first dog show, I forgot my belt, and my pants were falling down, and these girls were laughing because my ass was hanging out, and I had to use one of the the vet show leads to tie my pants up. You know, it was it was one of those experiences that, I like to tell people that, because they always think like you start at this greatness, and
Yeah.
no, where you stop actually determines on where you finish, not where you start.
That's a heck of a start there.
Man, it was interesting. I was just a kid from Peoria, Illinois, that I like dogs. I always grew up around pit bulls. I had a Chinaman bitch who actually just passed away not that long ago at 16 years
Sorry.
old. I came from a working dog background. So,
Yeah.
when I saw the American Bully, it was cheeky, it was muscled, it was blocky, it was like
Yeah.
everything that I liked in a pit bull, only
More.
way less drive
Yeah.
and more substance.
Yeah.
Because, high drive dogs are fun, but my working dog, Gina, she was a weight pull dog.
Hmm.
If I didn't work her daily, I would come in and she would, if I didn't take her to do her job, she would eat. You'd come home to a three-legged table or a sofa missing an arm, and I knew it was my fault because I didn't get to it. So I wanted something that looked very high drive, but was more chill. And when I found the American Bully, it is the perfect companion breed for me. Like they're awesome. They're muscular. Certain lines are athletic. Like my line actually has really high drive, and like I had mentioned previously, I focus on longevity of life. And that's why Lucky is the main foundation of my entire program, is because longevity of life is so important to me. When I add in dogs into my bloodline, they're usually dogs that are still very much alive and active. Like when I use other Dax line dogs, I use Havoc, which is Cash Pot's littermate brother, but Havoc is actually still alive. He's like 13 and a half. I'll use
Exactly.
Magoo Blood.
I
Magoo is
love it.
12. Lucky is 11. Phenom made it to a little over 9. So I try to look for dogs that have longevity of life, because kind of like the Capital One, when they say what's in your wallet, I ask what's in your pedigree, because it ultimately does make a
Yeah.
difference.
Oh, gosh, absolutely, absolutely. Now you said that you'd gotten into the game, introduced yourself to these folks. Who would you consider the mentors that got you kind of up and running?
So I always mention Marco Pimentel and Sloan because they're 100% where I started. But when I came in with them, it was, me and Marco were from the same hood. So like we grew up running around Peoria together. So when I got into that, it was like a friend showing me the
Yeah.
business. When I bring up the people who I actually mentored under, like there were people who really changed my whole outlook on everything. So when you said previously, we may ask you who your mentors are. I have real mentors. Kino Reyes, Black Label Bullies. Rest in
Hmm.
peace, Kino. Kino was my wife's mentor and my mentor.
Yeah.
He was the only person when coming up as a judge that told me to read books. It wasn't just know what you know, read the standard, that's enough.
Yeah.
Kino sent us books. We were given homework assignments and told to sit down and read these books. And he gave us the books. Like, these were not cheap books.
Yeah. So
And me and my wife both took the time to read them.
Yeah.
Rolando Mata. Me and Rolando, there were so many times, that's one of those things when I laugh about politics. Like, I know politics isn't real. I used to hang out with Rolando after shows on the regular and talk dogs, and the man always told me, man, you got to bring a better dog. And I
how
loved
many
it.
times have I said
It's
this?
needed,
Yeah.
man. Sometimes people need brutal honesty.
Yes.
He never once told me, oh,
Yes.
that's a nice dog. If I brought shit, he was like, yeah, that was a horrible dog, man. You've got to do better.
Spayed and
And
bulldogs.
from that, I learned a lot. And,
Mhm.
also I learned a lot about the breed standards with him. Rolando has been there like anytime I have questions. Not only is he a senior judge, but he is the head of our judge director program. So he's one of those gentlemen that keeps his phone line open even at 3 a.m, knowing that he's going to irritate his wife by talking to me that late at night, but we'll still do it. So Rolando's definitely up there.
Oh, bless
Um,
her heart. Oh, man.
a lot of the new judges, or a lot of the new people who come in, not new judges, but new members of the community, may not remember Ty Lumley, but Ty was the man. Like I followed Ty's program. I actually followed Ty in 2010 at a Peoria show. I followed him around. I'm like, sir, excuse me, sir, excuse me,
He's
sir,
really
you,
followed him.
sir. He just literally he went back to his booth, and I followed him to his booth. And I was like, what is that? Because like I said, I started with Michelin's, so there was all this like Razor's Edge was reindeer shit that they were talking, and like
Yeah.
he had Grand Champion reign. This dog was a monster. I mean, like jaw dropper. I followed him back to his house. I said, "What is that?" He said,
I need
"It's a
to
Razor's Edge
know.
male." I said, "That's a Razor's Edge male." Oh, I've been lied to. Okay. Okay. So
Oh no, this
apparently,
whole time you never
oh,
knew.
I
Oh.
didn't know. But this was like 2 years in, and like
Mhm.
I'd been misled that, like this was what an American Bully was supposed to be. And the reality is like I was missing some key
Yeah,
components. Also, like when people would say they had Razor's Edge, they would have dogs that were bought like 4 generations back that came from Dave's program, but they weren't really true Razor's Edge
right,
dogs. And at that point in time, I started going, okay, you need to look at the bloodlines and look at what really is there and what people were isolating specifically to create their lines, because that's so important in consistency when breeding. If you don't understand the lines that are there and what's there, you'll never get a consistent result. And for me, that's why I tend to go directly to sources of dogs that are known for throwing phenotype and genotype. These two things are huge in the breedings, and a lot of people also don't study the coefficients of inbreeding. These things are huge if you want to produce consistent dogs. There's a science behind it, but there is some disadvantage to it because you can't really follow the COI with the American Bully as tightly as you can with a breed that's been established for 100+ years.
right.
Because with our breed being newer in establishment, if you start getting in too low of a COI, essentially you can start to get further away from the desired look.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, always an unfortunate byproduct for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
and there's a lot of science to the breeding, and a lot of people just they don't understand that there's a huge science behind it.
Yeah, they're like, this dog
And
looks good. This dog looks good. Let's put them
You
together.
right. But the
you
crazy thing is people try to do 3 times this, 4 times that, 5 times this, right? And but then what they're wanting results wise, they're like, I want to produce the next national winner. Well, let's talk about the last 5 national winners.
Right.
All of them were out of the box breedings. I mean, no disrespect to Chaos Blood. Chaos has thousands of offspring, or at
Yes.
least 1,000 offspring. There is one Grand Champion Blue. His mother was a complete outcross, and
Yeah.
it created Blue. Robert Lee had bred his line for years, but he
Hmm.
never got a bus until he went to the short bus blood
yeah.
and used that blood, and that gave him the bus. The bear's dad, Purple Hulu, is a very classic male,
Yeah.
like almost what would be considered lacking, but they took him to a Magoo female who like brought it to the table,
It didn't
and
lack
you ended
nothing.
up and you ended up with Bear, and you ended up with a very complete dog. When you look at Samson, you can't name another Santino son that's a grand champion besides his littermate, and it's because he was an out of the box breeding. And you look at Grand Champion Hangman, he is probably Blue's best son. I'm going to say probably is Blue's best son, but
He's
the
phenomenal.
pedigree there is also out of the box. It is not pedigree stacked. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying this with any disrespect to the dogs on each side of them. I'm
Of course
saying
not.
usually what creates the better dog isn't the over inbreeding of a dog, but today's breeders seem to want to pedigree stack for the sales they get.
Yes.
They look for a quick sales, and they throw together this hot dog to this hot dog, and a lot of times they're not taking into consideration inbreedings that are there. Excuse me, if a stud is already inbred, don't inbreed that stud. You should probably look for an outcross. And if
Oh,
you are going to, though, if you're going to inbreed the stud, keep your whole litter,
Yeah.
because you're going to run into inconsistencies.
Mhm.
Because the smaller the gene pool, the more you shrink it down. Essentially, what's going to end up happening is if you get the one you want, that may be the only one. There could be 7 puppies, and you could end up with 6 that ended up with throwback genetics
Yeah.
yeah.
off 2 really bully dogs that look like American Pit Bull Terriers or lack breed type and breed characteristic.
Right.
A lot of people just they overlook that. So anytime I get an opportunity to speak about things like this, I try to drop as much breeder knowledge, because as a judge, I'm knowledgeable.
Mhm.
But as a breeder, I bring a lot to the table because I've been breeding for 15 years. I love the breed, and because I have nothing to gain. Like,
Yeah.
I always try to just drop knowledge, and I tell my customers all the time, if I don't have what you want and I can't provide what you're looking for, I will link you up with somebody who I know is not going to rip you off or do you wrong, who has exactly what you're looking for.
I love that.
Because you want people to produce better dogs. You shouldn't be more concerned about lining your pocket than with creating better
Yeah.
dogs.
Oh yeah. It's all about the dogs, or it's about nothing at all. That's always been something I've felt deep. We did have a question. Adam was asking, do you have a favorite Razor's Edge stud? After obviously finding out that Razor's Edge aren't
Well, John,
pit bulls.
I mean, so there were great dogs throughout the whole line.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I was really partial to what Moonshine did. I liked Moonshine Blood, and then ultimately, Razor's Edge Blueberry went on to produce Demon Boy. And Demon is probably one of my favorite dogs on the planet because he's very well rounded. And a lot of people that saw him in Virginia at Dave's show, he was very small there. I judged him in Ireland like 2 years later, and that Razor's Edge pop is real.
Yes.
I saw him and was like, no, is that the same dog? Holy shit. Like, and that's, to me, that's what an American bully should look like. Okay, if you're not like mind blown and jaw dropped, like you're not on the right path.
Yeah.
And he really matured into something absolutely special. And what he is a 25-75 formula. Lucky's a 50-50. Magoo's a 50-50. Well, Demon Boy is 75% edge, 25% Dax line. And the formula there is just, to me, I think that outcrosses are your best. Like if you think about Dax's best, they were always the outcross dogs. And if you think about the inbred Dax sons, most of them had a shorter lifespan. So for me, though I play with the Dax blood, it is not, it is a base component of my bloodline, but it is not like, I'm not a Dax line breeder through and through. I'm an outcross breeder, and I tend to run with lines that actually are what my line is. My line is a 50-50 bloodline, and I tend to run with, I like Foking blood, but if you think about it, Rocco is off of Boss bred to a corrupt bred female.
Yes.
She was a Tetris daughter. That's outcrossed. You look at Magoo blood, Magoo was Dax bred to heavy Stella blood, which was Denzel and Pee-wee. So for me, in my line, I actually play with Lucky Line, Foking, and Muscle Tone blood because those bloods have consistently produced a very specific look and have a very specific phenotype and genotype that pairs well with mine. The disadvantage is when you start getting into the heavily line-bred studs off those lines, they may not work well with mine because essentially it's not necessarily an outcross. It's a line breeding. And if you overdo it with the line breeding, you can lose features. So I'll pick and choose how I play with things, even in my own line. I just did my first 5 times lucky litter, but it's so generationally spaced out.
Right.
And I've got a female that's bananas off it. I'm very happy, but you know, I want healthy dogs.
That's gonna be exciting.
So Alex, question. We talk
Yes,
we talk a lot about studs. I don't think the females get a lot of credit because I know it's a couple females in Razor's Edge that I personally follow on lines. Miss Piggy is one, and then Dime Piece off of the Edge stuff. Those are 2 females that for me I seen that produce phenomenally across the board when you look at the males that they produce. How do you feel about that?
I agree 100%. Females, it's a 50-50, but a lot of people don't look at the 50-50 percentage. Like they want to take a weak female to a great stud, and then they get upset when the results aren't there. If you have so instead of trying to take a breeding and put 2 dogs together that have to compensate for each other's lacking areas, if you take 2 dogs together, like you take a female that everybody asks what the stud fee is, that has good shoulder assembly, good forechest, level top line, good turn to stifle, thick rear, proportionate from front to back, square, and you take her to a male that has all those same features, not only should you have a more consistent litter, but you should have dogs that complement or outproduce both. Yeah. And that's key, but people look at, see when I say this, when I say people, let me just throw some numbers out here so you guys understand why I preach this so heavily. My boy Riot just turned 4 in June. His ABKC number is 507,000 and 3 X's. Right now, the last litter I registered was 1,160,000. Or that we have over doubled the breed in 4 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in the first 15 years of the breed, or the first 16 years of the breed, being registered for the ABKC coming into play in 2004, 15 years and we were at 507,000 and some change. Now fast forward 4 years from the COVID boom, we're up in the 1,160,000.
Easy.
And when you look at those numbers, you know people weren't breeding for show quality dogs. So something else I say, and some people will like it, some people will love it, some will applaud it, and some will sneer at the camera and act like I'm saying something horrible. But you guys get mad at the judges for what they're picking. Yet us judges, we can't judge our own productions. It's the public producing these dogs. So before they get mad at us for picking these dogs, like, you guys got to do better. You're the ones producing the dogs.
Well, you also said something different. Like when you first started off, they threw you books. They threw you information on hey, look, this is what your breed is supposed to be. Like, I hate to say it, there's a lot of breeders and people that bring dogs to the show ring that don't know the terminology. They don't even know what a top skull is. And I mean, that ought to be the
100%.
So I mean,
our junior handlers could actually hand a lot of people their asses on knowledge. I'm not gonna lie, dealing with Destiny Myers and Logan, and my wife mentored young Isaiah and Tone's daughter Christine. Oh my God! Between those 4 kids, like, I had to go and dig into the vault to find information to stump them, because you couldn't go over it. And, like, I remember Logan one time literally listed 278 body parts on a dog, and at one point in time I was just looking at him like,
you're like, okay, that's all the time we have for today.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna find something else. So then I started having to go into like breeder knowledge, because obviously these juniors are going to become breeders. So I started bringing up, like, what is an incurable STD for a dog, and how can it, if you make it past that and say brucellosis, then how can it be contracted? And at that point in time, he's like, well, Mr. Ferraro, my stud could simply lick a female and pick it up. If there's any discharge that comes in contact orally, then you run into it. So, like, we really do work hard with kids. But the problem is if our kids, which by far, they are our future.
Yes.
But the adults that are out there are our present.
Yeah.
If our kids who are our future know more than our present, then we're on the way to the right track. But they could have had
a gap to fill. We got a gap to fill.
There is a gap.
There's a void.
The problem is you have so many new breeders who just came in, and they'll read bits and pieces of the standard, and they'll interpret the bits and pieces to favor their dog. But what they won't do is they won't get and look at the dog from the total picture.
Right.
One feature in an American Bully should never outweigh the total dog. It is a total discredit to the American Bully breed to put one emphasis on one feature so high that we overlook everything else, because there are 5 elements to breed type. Yeah. And that is key.
Thank you.
And it kind of goes back to how, like, what you said when you started off, you saw the dog and you fell in love with this one kennel, and that one kennel sold you a dog, and now you're hitting the ring and you like, hey, my dog foul, why it ain't getting no love? Right?
Yeah. What it was is I didn't read the breed standard.
But
I'd be the first person to admit it. It was my mistake. But I love Leo. He had more bulldog features. Yeah. And Michelin's used to have dogs like Ramby and Nitro and Cracker and Guinevere and Roscoe and Bubba. Like, they had bigger dogs. And then as they moved forward, they came out with dogs like Lord Farquaad, which kind of fit the name. Short little guy. So the dogs started going a different route. Yeah. And, like, I love Larry's dogs, but I love, like, Gooch and Skrilla Scratch and dogs that excuse me, that had
that sound like rappers.
they were ripped, they were muscled, they were like big, bully, even the ones that were on a smaller frame. Yeah. So I fell in love with that kind of look, but then I didn't realize, my dogs more look towards, there are things that make up an American Bully. There's breed characteristics. They're the 5 elements of breed type. And in your 5 elements of breed type, the first one that falls into place is breed character. Then there's silhouette, head, movement, and coat. Okay, so a dog should be easily identifiable via its breed characteristic. If you can mistake a dog for any other breed, it essentially lacks breed type. So if a dog looks like an American Pit Bull Terrier or an Amstaff, doesn't matter how nice it moves, doesn't matter how well it's stacked, how proportionate it is, the dog resembles another breed. If you were to silhouette it out, it looks like another breed. Then you go to the hypertype side of things. On the hypertype side of things, it can look like an English Bulldog, an Old English Bulldog. If it looks like that, essentially it lacks type. As I became more educated with the breed standards, I started looking at what that means and how that applies to a program. You know, it's okay to have a dog that's hyper type as a tool,
Right.
but that tool isn't a show ring dog.
Yeah.
But essentially, people,
You know the
people
difference.
also have to understand there is brood stock and there is show stock. There's a huge difference between the two, and the two go hand in hand.
Right.
But if you show up with a brood stock in the ring and you think it's the ultimate show dog, you need to understand you have a tool, and you don't want to take your tool to another tool. Otherwise, you end up with a tool that you're never going to use, like the dad with like 500 tools in his toolbox waiting for a chance to use it. You know,
Like, what is this
eventually
even for? It's
exactly, you end up with one of those ones that you look at and you go, what is this for? What is this? How do I even use this tool?
like it goes. It's like to fix like a 1920s machine that they don't make anymore. It's like, why do you still have? It's like all those cords, charging cables. They're like, what the F is this for? Like, what is this for? It's for stuff that they don't make anymore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's what some people need to be honest to. Like even myself, like I have a lot of dogs that are actually that I'm looking for pet homes for because to me they're better than what I've seen a lot of people selling. But to me, they're pets. They are not the upper echelons. They're not what I will put my name on. I'm very particular. If I sell somebody a dog, I actually farm my dogs. I raise them until they're about a year, and then when customers ask me, I'm looking for this, this, and this, I then match that up to a dog I have. You know, I don't want to sell somebody a pipe dream or a puppy that could go either way. And when you're dealing with inbreedings, line breedings, or even outcrossing, which all programs have to go through, you don't really know what these puppies are going to turn out like.
Right.
Because it is a newer breed, there are throwback genetics, and sometimes when you shrink a
Oh,
gene pool down,
recessive.
you do not get what you're expecting.
Yeah.
Those recessive genes are a bitch.
No.
Yeah,
And
it happens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and what basically what I was saying was a lot of people know the idea of what they think the dog should look like, but they don't. I mean, without the proper definition of vocabulary, you can't read the standards and say what the dog is.
Yeah.
So
The good thing is, and if anybody wants them, they can message me and I'll be happy. And this goes to like, if we've got 500 people to watch this, 500 people can message me and I will send them all of the breed standards in visual aid form.
Yeah.
Because we've actually gotten it down to where we should be able to look at if, and I do this with my program, if you cannot match the dog to the visual aid given,
Mhm.
then you're missing key components to breed characteristics. And knowing where you lack and accepting that is how you better improve your program. You know, like if you look and your dog needs more bone, then you need to isolate a dog that has more bone.
Mhm.
If you're looking at your dog and your dog fits the dwarf image, has slightly shorter fronts with a dip at the shoulder blade and then a high rear,
Right.
then you know you're dealing with potential dwarfism, and you definitely don't want to push that into your program. A lot of people will not want to accept what's there until it's like shoved in their face. I've actually had people that message me and ask me, and I've sent them the image of their dog next to the faulty images of the breed, and been like, this is why this dog is not a show dog.
Right.
Some people don't like it, but most people honestly are just happy because rather than tell them, yeah, oh no, keep showing the dog, come on, bring it out, keep wasting your money, $80 plus a handler, and you're never going to get to a title. And you know,
Right.
people are secretly talking about you outside of the ring. I would rather somebody tell me, hey, look, like Miss Cindy did, which is those are not the right dogs.
Dogs.
Yeah, and Rolando, you got to bring a better dog. He was right, man.
Yes.
Like, and I appreciated it. I would rather blatant honesty than for somebody to like sugarcoat it and try and tell me, oh no, keep doing it. Like, that's why if I ever ask a judge why you didn't pick my dog and why I'm so quick, if anybody asks me, I am the judge that will tell you exactly why I picked the dogs and break my decision down for you, because I feel like as judges, it's our responsibility to help the community.
Absolutely.
We're put in a position of
Absolutely.
power, and if we don't give feedback, we're essentially not giving what they pay for. Every person who comes in that ring has paid $20 for my assessment of their dog and my opinion on the dog. If I'm not giving them feedback, then I feel like I'm failing them.
oh
So
yeah.
I work very hard to give feedback.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
As judges, like y'all are the guardrails. Like, do you know when you bowl and you got the little bumper rails up for the kids?
Yeah.
Like, y'all.
That's
They're
what
the
we are.
bumpers.
We're the bumper pads.
Yeah.
And some judges don't want to talk about it. Some do. I would rather give the feedback. And if I'm in a situation where it's a huge show, you know, I will tell them, bring your dog to me as soon as I get out of the ring. Walk the dog up to me, and even though I may not remember what the dog was in the ring with at the time, I will be able to tell you exactly what I see and break the dog down. because our best dogs throughout the history of the breed still had faults. There's no such thing as a perfect American Bully. The only way you can improve, though, is seeing the faults and knowing where to improve.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I'm
And
the
then
perfect bully.
oh, go ahead. Huh?
I said I'm the perfect bully.
I mean, you got a big head and some breed type to you, bro.
He's
You look
got
like
he's
you
got
got bone.
these massive shoulders. I mean,
Hey,
he's
I'm telling you,
absolutely.
bro.
Your breed type is just on point, my man. On
Hey, look.
point. You're
Hey,
not
we got to write the
lacking.
bid in the standard. We need to write the bid in the standard.
Rewrites. Send more visuals. Send more visuals. We've got it figured out. I'm glad we have this chat.
I don't know, man. Ty Lumley was pushing that full beard.
Oh yeah.
When he was judging, he used to come out with and Chris White.
Oh my
Chris White,
God,
Yes.
yes.
Oh yeah.
man.
Chris
First
got
off,
it now.
Chris got that beard on point, man. He walks out there and you're just like, I mean, he's unmistakable. Unmistakable. And he's always on
he
point.
has to
Always on point.
use. He actually got mistaken for Thor by a small child on a plane. It was great.
Did he go
But he totally looks like him, but his is like I don't have the time to condition a beard like that. To all the men out there with the big beards, hey, salute, gentlemen. I tried it. You got to condition it. You got to do it. Like Chris, he straightens that bad boy because that thing is straight as a pair of pleated pants. Like it is.
It might
can
even
stand
have a
up on its
pleat.
own. It might.
Oh yeah.
It might. Oh my God. Oh mercy. Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I mean,
Please.
I absolutely love a judge that is willing to tear it apart for you and just be like, listen, I'm speaking to you candidly. Here's your homework. If you've got a great dog, you just you need to be able to present them better. Then that's one thing, right? So here's your
Right.
homework on that front. But if your dog is lacking and there's just nothing that can really be done to fix that, I need to know that. I'm not going to know to fix something if I don't know it's broken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it takes people being willing to do what you do, to literally listen and be like, okay, I can't be kennel blind. I just had a really, really knowledgeable judge tell me what I'm missing, what I need to do. And you've got to be willing to play the long game. And I appreciate that you consider that part of your duty. That's
Honorable.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very.
To me, it's one of the things that as a community, you can't have the word community without unity. And the people who are in positions to lead the community, if they do not lead the community, then who will? I've seen a lot of people come out who have done live feeds, have a hype dog, and people follow every word of what's said when the reality is a lot of the information is very misleading because people will tell you what they want to tell you in order to line their pocket.
Yeah.
The people who have taught me the most, I've never even done business with. I've never bought a dog off them, but they wanted to educate me as a breeder. And I'm a firm believer of paying it forward. If you're in a situation where you've been blessed, then you bless others. Like for me, like I said, I'm from Peoria, Illinois. I was supposed to be born, raised, and die in the hood. Like both my brothers were murdered a year ago.
Wow.
So
Sorry, man.
it's okay, man. It happens. It's the life you choose to live.
Yeah.
My brothers were awesome people, but they did not veer off that path. And unfortunately, sometimes that leads to things. But I was blessed with Lucky, and I got very lucky with the dog. When I reached out to Mike Meza, this was 2012. No other real big name breeders were giving me the time of day. I called Ed and I couldn't get a hold of Ed, and we actually ended up being really good friends. But in the beginning, I couldn't reach Mr. Shepard. I couldn't reach Dave. In fact, I only think Dave had an idea that I existed in 2012.
He had
You know,
a lot going on in 2012.
but Bashar, I couldn't get a hold of him. And when I went through other parties that were like working with his blood, I was quoted $25,000. And this was like this is before like they really were pushing dogs at the prices they are now too.
Yeah.
And then I reached out to a gentleman named Mike Meza. And I told him, like I'm looking for a 50-50. I fell in love with Magoo and Grand Champion G Train. And I see you did the repeat of what created Heat Stroke. I would really like to get in on this. And he answered the phone. He took time to talk to me, and I told him, I said, if this dog is as nice as he looks, man, I swear on everything, I will make this dog a household name. And we both kind of laughed about it like he thought I was joking. But he put the dog on a plane. Lucky was actually purchased for $5,500 in 2012 as a puppy.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't know this, but fun fact, he was the last pick because of his scars. Mike knew what he had, so he wasn't letting him go, but no one wanted Lucky because his scars. And of his like 6 or 7 litter mates, he was by far the nicest, but the whole litter was super consistent. There was a female Cadillac, there was Niner, there was Chucho. Like, the litter was a very consistent litter, but Lucky
So you
was
already
by
kind
far
of
the
knew,
standout.
I had a backbone to it.
I knew he would be special. And when I got him, I still didn't know how far it could go because I looked at the scars and was like, man, but Mike had paperwork on it showing that it was injury born at birth. Lucky was born breech, came out of the shoulders. When his mother tried to pull him out, she ripped his back open. So,
Poor baby.
I went with Lucky Luciano name because he was lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
And the story behind Lucky Luciano, when the mob cut his face, put a big L on it. I was like, all right, cool. We're gonna run with this.
That
And
makes
from there,
sense.
he ended up being something that I think in when he was
Household name.
14 months or 12 months, I went and stacked him with Bistro. And an article, you can still find it. It was like thisisbully.com. They did Lucky versus Bistro. And that was like what put him on the map. And then after that, I got my champion title at the next 3 shows, then became the Atomic Dog Magazine mascot, and then started doing stack-offs. And, I'm a firm believer for the culture. A lot of people don't understand that not everybody has the desire to go and spend all the money to go in a left-handed square for 12 hours. So I like the stack-off aspect, so long as it's friendly and respectful.
Yeah.
I like to get dogs together and show them for what they are because as an older gentleman in the breed, I will never refer to myself as an OG. I'm more mid-level. I came in after the real OGs and the pioneers, the Ed Shepherds, the Dave Wilsons, the Richard Brajas, those guys. There were many pioneers, Mike and Meg with the Federation. Like, when these people were around, those were the OGs. Kevin Benford from the Lounge, that's an OG. Me, I'm older in it, but to me, I'm not quite an OG. But as somebody who came in, like, we came in during the Bully Barbecue days, where we all used to go to parks and stack dogs and talk about breedings.
It was a meet and greet. Yeah, absolutely.
It was, and it's where you met other people who were passionate about the breed. And I will say this till I'm blue in the face. If you're going to a show and you're not having fun, if you're so caught up in trying to win, when only one dog can win best in show that day, if you're going and you're spending all this money and you're having no fun and you can't even clap for other people and you're leaving with this bitter, I just bit a lemon face, you are wasting your time and money.
Yeah.
You are not even enjoying yourself. Like, the shows are to enjoy the other breeders, to enjoy your community, to talk with other like-minded breeders who are passionate about the breed so that the breed can excel. Because if we're not passionate about it, if the sole driving force behind producing American bullies is to make money, we're doing it for all the wrong reasons. I mean, granted, having a program is expensive. I feed a lot a month. I go through 2 pallets a month.
We just talked about that.
Yeah, so it's not
pallets,
cheap.
he buys by the pallet.
I do, because I go through 2 bags a day. I kept my last 5 litters because I have sold many nice dogs that ultimately I've looked at and been like, damn it, that was the one. But if you want to have a good name in the dog world, though, you have to sell people your best. You can't just keep your best. You have to provide customers with quality dogs. But my last few litters, I went out of house, out of program to isolate features. I did a 3 times lucky litter, a 4 times lucky litter, and a 5 times lucky litter, all specifically set up, generationally spaced out with COIs that should be somewhere around 17, which is in a very acceptable space. And in doing that, I've been able to, because I took so much time, I've got dogs that to me fit what I'm looking for without shrinking that gene pool down.
Right.
But I haven't sold anything. I've kept everything, and I'm happy about it. But I'll tell you what, those dogs don't eat a puppy amount anymore. They are 7 months. Everybody's in the 70+ pound range, and they're eating full amounts. It is expensive to have the program, but one day, when like a year from now, when I'm looking at what I have, I will be completely okay with what I paid, the amount that I paid, and the struggles that go through, because ultimately, when you're not, I'm not selling puppies, so I would have to go off my stud fees or pull from other areas of funding.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I spend my own money many months just to keep my passion going,
Yeah.
my very expensive hobby going.
Yeah.
I love breeding, but some months I do make really good money. Sometimes I do really well, but then there are other times where it's like, okay, I am keeping every single one of these dogs because I think I may have something that could compete on a national level.
Yeah.
We're going to keep the whole litter. That's 8 puppies.
You're hoarding.
Just did
Litter
it.
hoarding.
I split it with my wife, so I mean, it's 50-50. I only kept 4,
Yeah,
she kept 4.
Of course. Yeah,
hey,
sure.
Seems
I'm
seems
be
less.
honest.
To let
Seems
her pick
less.
her for?
I'm gonna be honest with you. These puppies down there at the house got me like that, man. Please come home. I got beans and bologna.
I'm
Hey,
telling you, like there were
I feel
times,
it.
and I mean, there were times when my dogs were eating, like they were eating before I did. All I had was
100%.
ham in the fridge, like sliced deli ham, and cans of green beans. And guess what? That's what they ate. And I waited. Like it was just one of those things where it's like, I'm with you. Like there are some lean times, but it's just you got to get through them, and you got to be got to be creative.
Yeah.
People don't understand that, like, sometimes as breeders, we sacrifice a lot to keep what we're going.
Oh yeah.
The average show cost for the people that are show goers, like for people watching this, if you go to shows, you already know. But the average cost is about $500 to
Yeah.
$600. If you get a rental, you're looking at just 500 to 600 just on your rental.
Right.
If you rent something big like an expedition, you're doubling your gas mileage. You're lucky to get 24 miles a gallon on the highway. Gas
Yep.
prices were higher than Cheech and Chong not that long
They
ago.
were.
Things are starting to get back to normal, but I mean, they were high. They were like two hippies in a helicopter. So,
Right.
um,
Up
They
there,
were.
big dog.
Yeah.
if you're going every weekend, let's say you go 4 weekends back to back because you're campaigning. Well, that's $600 times 4. That's $2,400 just in a month just to go to shows.
Yeah.
So, like, to
Grinding.
all the crazy show people, we love you guys. We absolutely love you guys. You guys are the MVPs. You are the heart of the organization. Without you guys, there would be no shows. There would be no American Bully. And the people that are going to the shows, most of them are the breeders who have tried to focus on structure and a well balance between structure and
Yes.
mass, not just like one wow factor. So these
Right.
people are also the people that are trying to push the breed in a forward, upward momentum. They're trying to keep things going forward. And
Mhm.
like I said, they're the MVPs. Because again, us judges, we can't pick our own dogs.
Yeah.
They can't show when we're showing. So the
Right.
reality is a lot of what you see is produced by the community.
Mhm.
And sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I go in and I am so proud of the community. And I just want to say that openly.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you guys make me smile big. I will walk into a show and see a bunch of nice dogs and be like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Someone was listening,
At this point,
you
you're just like,
know.
I'm so glad that this decision, the judging between these dogs in this ring right now, is so effing hard. Like, I'm so proud. Like,
That is what I seek as a judge.
yeah,
I
it's
long
a
for the
tough
day
decision. Yeah.
that I go into the ring, and when I'm pacing back and forth between the decision, it's because it's so close that I have to like really nitpick and go down to the
You're
very
dissecting at
most
that point.
crucial
Yeah.
details.
Hmm.
But a lot of the times, people don't understand. A lot of times, you're going between dogs and you're looking at faults, and you're going, okay, well, this one has this,
Yeah.
this one has that. Neither are ideal. Which dog brings more to the table from a breeding perspective? Because that's what needs to be looked at. Yes, we are a conformation show.
Yeah.
Yes.
The dogs should have structure, they should have movement. But essentially, we're a breeder registration.
Hmm.
So dogs that are altered cannot show. Spayed or neutered dogs cannot show.
Yeah. You guys
So
don't
we're
have
looking at
a.
dogs that will produce the better breed stock for tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you have a dog that lacks breed type and looks more towards an Amstaff or a Pit Bull, and then you have a dog who has a fault here and there, but has considerably more breed
Yeah.
type and is undeniably an American Bully, which one brings more to the table
Yeah.
from a breeding perspective to a program? If you
Yeah.
were to take a nice, well-rounded female to both of those, which one goes forward, which one sets you back?
I like
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
Looking at it.
You know, I
No,
mean, we are a
absolutely.
breeder, we're a breeder registration, but also with that, I will tell you that when you have dogs that have luxating patellas and slipping hocks, this is genetic.
Yeah.
So like I've had people get mad at me, but if I can push on the hock, which if you've ever watched me judge, you will see me do it. I go down to the tail, I go to the hock, and then I push on the hock. If the hock slips forward and slips back, that is a bad kneecap. And this is an issue that carries over.
Oh,
You
that's
know, so
sneaky.
I
I
mean,
love it.
but it's you
I
can
love
also
that.
push down on them, and people don't realize you can check for lots of things on these dogs. And the more you do it, the more you understand it. Like for me, the hard stack isn't even a huge thing because my wife is an amazing handler. Amazing.
Yeah.
But you can see everything on the dog when the dog moves.
Mhm.
So no, she could take a dog that's got faults and present it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then the minute the dog moves, you see it.
Washes
So
away.
You
It
can
all
when
wash in the
have
wash.
nothing in the gate. It all comes
you
to
can't,
bear. It all comes to bear in
and
that gate.
people that are listening, take notes. If not, it's on you. But when you come into the ring, that first L, there's a reason why we have you do that. You enter in a point and you come in the first L. When you're coming in, we're watching your dog's movement. We are looking at the dog when it is unpresented, in the raw,
Already.
first moving in, when you're not even thinking anybody's watching.
Yeah.
Because
Mm.
at this point in time, you can see a lot and know what dog paddles, what dog has a short upper arm,
Uh-huh.
what dog lacks fore chest, which dog oscillates through the shoulders, which dog is hocked in the rear. There's so many different things because there's a
Mhm.
plethora of faults in our breed. But movement, though, when you talk about your 5 characters or your 5 elements of breed type, breed character, silhouette, head movement, and coat, movement would fall in that order as number 4. But just because it would fall fourth into there doesn't mean that it's any less important. Movement, you can see so many faults via movement. So if the dog is not moving right, the dog is not built right. You know, so form follows function. So with that
Yep.
said, movement is equally important, but however, breed characteristic defines the dog. So breed characteristic would have to fall first. Silhouette, if you black out the dog, you should 100% be able to identify it as an American Bully, which would fall into breed character. Head, the American Bully is very much like the French Bulldog. If its head does not look like an American
Mhm.
Bully, then you are running into a problem. It should be unmistakably American Bully. Deep, pronounced 90-degree stop, softball
Yeah.
jaws, broad top skull, clean bite. These things are important. Strong underjaw. If you see a lot of dogs that are smiling, everybody thinks it's cute. A smiling dog usually lacks underjaw.
Mm.
What if your dog only smiles when you hit that spot and he's like, oh, does that count?
Well, maybe,
My smile
I don't
when
know.
you hit the
I
table.
think that's just the spot.
It's just
He's
It's just
perfect. He's all business. He's got that mean furrowed brow. He has resting bitch face until you get that one spot and he's like, oh, best day of my life. And
yeah,
so like at that point,
that's
I'm
just the spot.
Hey,
Hey,
Amanda, the way your back arched when you scratched your neck, that had to be your spot too.
Johntae.
and see, that's why I'm not on camera. Ain't nobody gonna catch me arching my back. No, sir.
Smart man right there. Y'all laugh it up. That's all right. I'm blushing because of the wine, not because of what you just said.
Oh man, hey,
I love you
while
guys. I really do.
I got this moment, man, Alex. I really want to. Hey, I want to say in the Georgia show, Earl's show, you come up to me with Chief, and you said something that I don't get a lot of because he is a smaller dog, but you were like he is what you would see a classic dog being, and but he's just small, and I understand that completely. But I didn't. We were in the ring, and I wanted to just say, hey, I appreciate you coming up to me and telling me that while we had the chance.
yeah.
Man, I always try to give feedback and talk to people because, again, as a judge, when I'm there for the people. Without the people, there would be no shows. Without the people, there would be no registration. There would be no American Bully, and the American Bully changed my life. Like I said, it's taken me around the world. I've been to 47 different countries. I've
Wow.
met amazing people. I met my wife in the show ring. She beat me into retirement. By the way, folks, if you saw the post about me being an expert handler, I am not. My wife beat me so belligerently that I retired.
Oh.
I actually have pictures of us going head to head. I set out to crush her hopes and dreams. She had this little dog, Bowser. It's the first time we ever met. Like,
Oh my.
I didn't know.
Oh,
Oh
bless
no,
your
seriously.
heart.
Like, look, she came up to me confident, okay? And I thought this girl was like really cocky. Turns out she had like really bad social anxiety, and it was like really hard for her to come up
It
and talk to
doesn't.
me. But she walked up to me with this
Dang,
little dog
she
in her
shows up.
arms
Like, yeah,
and
you
was
never
like,
know.
"I'm Devin Garner, and this is Bowser. He's the next Lucky Luciano." And I looked at Nate with Castro, Nathan Lehman, because we were like best friends. We both from Peoria. And I said, who was that? He was like, "That's Devin. She's got this boy grand champion Bowser. He's the youngest grand champion." I said, "Oh, really? Okay. She wants to play in the big leagues. Get Castro. I'm grabbing Maybach." And man, we went out there with the intentions of just like crushing her poor little hopes and dreams. And she went 7-2 against me. And yeah, afterwards I was just like, I think I owe you dinner or something, because I feel like an idiot. I
Hey,
came
I
out
see.
here with I brought a national champion class winner in Castro, who was like the top, and like her and that little dog just
Own
beat the
you.
shit out of us religiously. Like it was like every weekend. You want to talk about a backfire, and then like after that, she's so
You're
much
sitting there thinking,
better
like,
at it.
I think I'm in love.
She beat
Oh yeah,
she beat the last name out of you, Alex.
she did beat the last name out of me. I was on some submissive shit after that. Like, okay, I like you.
Oh,
Let's do this.
mercy.
But together, like I could have never pursued the dreams that I was
Yeah.
trying to pursue without her support. Without my wife in my corner, I would not have been able to travel and see all the countries, and that goes like a great distance of trust.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes you will have that significant other that will assume that some bullshit is going on or just blow your phone up, ruin your whole trip. Like, we both
Who
go
you
completely opposite
with,
sides of the
man?
world, and
Mhm.
we have great times. We come home and we have a great time together.
I love that.
One of us is always holding the fort down. I did
Yeah.
my heavy judging not last year, but the year prior. Last year, she campaigned grand champion Hangman, and I spent most of the time at home taking care of dogs and holding it down so she could do what she was doing.
Oh yeah.
We work as a
Yeah.
team.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
That's
it's
it.
She's a
she definitely
remarkable woman, dude.
she's a
Damn.
hell of a
Mhm.
handler.
Yes, she is.
And when you said expert
Remarkable.
handler, I chuckled because I was like, expert handler, my ass. My wife,
Well, I
my
mean,
wife, my
because
wife beat me into submission. I definitely handled some dogs, but like, not like her.
well, yeah, and I've seen you handle dogs as well, and like
Oh God, I
you're
hope not
fantastic at it as
recently.
well. But it's one of those things where it's just like I know that I know that Devin is phenomenal, and she's definitely someone I would absolutely be honored to have on as well as you. You guys, even though you have this great campaign together, especially in mutual cooperation with one another, I'll campaign this, during this season, then it's you, and then so on and so forth. You guys both have different backgrounds and
We have
different,
completely different camps. She is
yeah,
from a bully
yep,
kennels, and I'm double D's. I have
yeah,
my 3 buildings on the property, and she has her 3 buildings.
yeah,
She
with an
cleans, takes care of all
entity.
of her dogs. I clean and take care of all my dogs.
Hmm.
Because when we got together, she had the ABKC's youngest grand champion in Bowser, and I
Hmm.
didn't want to be the guy who came in the relationship and like tried to trump over the top of that.
Yeah.
Like I felt like that's disrespectful. I was raised by a family full of strong women, my mom, my sister, and my 3 aunts.
But you already
And
knew.
last thing you need, yeah, you don't need some guy coming in and trying to take credit for anything. So we kept
I love
everything
that.
separate, and she is amazing at what she does and has been a blessing because when you talk about my mentors, I would be a lie if I didn't mention my wife.
Man.
My wife
That,
is
Oh,
I,
I love that.
when I'm kennel blind, she is like, "You are fucking tripping. That dog has a shit shoulder assembly." I'm like, "No, it doesn't." She's like, "Yes, the fuck it does." I'm like, "Look how wide he is." She's like, "Look at there's no forechest. What is wrong with
yeah.
you?" And I'll step to the side and look at the dog and be like, "Son of a bitch." She's right.
Right?
I was like
Ah,
I
you
was
and her
really
butt.
enjoying the dog, and
Fight
then
the
she said
power,
some
Alex.
shit to
Fight the
me,
power.
and then I look and I'm like, okay, but we're 2 different
Yeah.
camps. I'm a breed type. Like I go for like dogs that bring a lot of oomph and wow, and like hers, she wants the oomph and wow too, but she will not compromise movement. She believes if a dog doesn't move right, it's not built right.
Yeah.
And she's right. So, our
Don't
programs are a
fight the
little
power.
different, but the best thing is our best productions are collaborations. Like
Nice.
where we've
Hmm.
worked together and we've combined the best of my program and the best of her program, and ultimately that has given some awesome
Yeah.
dogs.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No,
Hey, look,
you guys
look.
definitely earned y'all's flowers. I mean, it's one of those things where, again, just like you said, you're separate entities. Like I wanted you on because of what I've seen you do, and obviously with Lucky, and just that legacy. She is unto her own, and again, it would be awesome to have her on as well. So I can, pick her brain as well, because you guys are just a powerhouse of awesomeness.
A lot of people don't realize it because she's such a confident individual when she's in the ring as a handler. And as a judge, if you've ever shown in her show ring, you have probably heard "thank you for your donation" over the microphone, because she's kind of a savage when it comes to that too. If you've come all day and you've not waited and you're supposed to be on deck and you're not there, she will call 3 times and you will be dismissed. But where I'm going with this is she does have like social anxiety. So getting her to do videos and lives is a little hard to do. But just to give her flowers right now, our boy Grand Champion Bowser has 94 best of breeds. He has over 160 best in shows, and that's just in the ABKC. He is a triple grand champion who has been in the top 10 from the time he was 1 year old. As recently as competed and placed top 5 when going against Zero on his reign of terror when he went 0 to 100. Not very many 8.5-year-old dogs went out and actually took wins that season.
Yeah.
In fact, I can't think of any. So, I mean, she has done amazing with what she does.
Oh, yeah.
And, a lot of people just don't know the legacy she's left, whereas mine has gone like a breeding program. I have 5-6 generations into my program. I have studs that produce their looks each generation. I have a strong breeding program, but when it comes to the show ring accomplishments, man, I cannot hold a candle to her. Yeah, no, like we have a graveyard of trophies where it's like there's nowhere to put them.
There's no way y'all don't. Like
there's so many just disrespected, like just in boxes and dusty. And,
Disrespected.
They're just disrespected, man. I tell her, I'm like, man, that is just disrespectful. That was a beautiful trophy. Look at it, all dusty and cobwebbed. But she does it for the breed wins. She wants to compete with the best, and I love that about her. She has like a really strong competitive nature. Whereas me, I'm competitive, but I'm more of the let the dog do the talking kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like, let's bring our dogs out. Let's put our dogs front and side, and we'll go from there. Let's talk about breeding programs, and we can go program for program, because tit for tat, I can stand with a lot of programs, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to give other people their flowers.
Yeah.
You guys heard the programs I mentioned is like the programs I use. You will probably never hear any of them speak highly on me. It's they act like speaking highly on another breeder is a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's not. Our dogs are our dogs. Like, they have no beef with anybody. They have no correlations. They have no disliking. And to go deeper into that, if you're handling a dog, right, and your dog doesn't do well, I want to see people do what this girl Kim Blue did in the ring when her dog lost. Her dog lost, and she literally was like, "Yes, bitch, yes. Who's the loser today? That's my girl." The dog was stoked. Like, your dog doesn't know when it wins, when it gets a grand champion title. Like, so always praise your dog. Do not be that bitter person that snatches the lead and pops the lead and come on, and don't be a dick to your dog, man. Your dog is doing this to please you.
Yes, 100%.
Make it a positive thing. Win, lose, or draw. Love your dog, people. Love your dog.
Oh yeah.
I tell Bobby every single time I leave the room. It's like, oh, just who's mommy's good boy, and he's like, okay, this is just what we're doing now. So but yeah, I love that mentality.
Lucky Luciano's nickname and what he is most commonly called by is Lulu. That's my little Lulu. And he comes running. He's so happy. And I baby talk, but I tell people all the time in the ring, I said, don't be afraid to baby talk your dog. Like, if you're gating your dog and your dog wants to freeze up, man, start baby talking them. Make it fun. Praise them. Get them going. Because when you're nervous and you're handling, your dog feeds off that energy. They can feel it. They can smell the pheromones coming off your body when you start to sweat, because we all know that temperature rising from your floor of the feet all the way up. You feel like everybody's looking at you. Next thing you know, you're looking at the judge. You can see the judge feeling the other dog. You're like, oh shit, he likes that dog. You're trying to stack the dog. Next thing you know, your dog is like, I don't know what's going on, but he is really upset.
Hey, both you and the dog needs buckling.
Right. I've been there, man. I've been there. It's like, I don't know how my wife does it. Like, she'll go in there and like handle 10, 15 dogs. Like, I handle one dog. My back hurts. I'm sweating. I'm musty. It's not a good situation. I feel like everybody's looking at me, and a lot of the times they are. That's why when you said,
I lost it. No, we lost him at the climax. No.
Hey, it
was getting so good.
This is
Here, let me.
Lord, I love listening to him talk.
Man, this is so fun. This is so fun.
Gotta get back on.
Yeah, here, let me tag him
Hey,
again.
while he ain't on there, I'm gonna just throw this out there. The first
What's
dog
up,
I
babe?
champed, the first dog I champed out. Well, I beat Devin. Just don't tell him that.
I'm, if I ever got to a degree where I could because you can never out handle. I'm sorry. There's just it's Devin. But if my dog beat the dog that she had in the ring, we're just gonna word it that way because let's just be real. I seriously I may ugly cry. I may ugly
Hey,
cry.
we go back and forth when we in the ring. I'm like, Devin, I'm beating you this time. Like you got enough. It's time for me to get some. So
Well, and so like I remember it was oh gosh, it was
Hey, he commented in my back. Is he
yeah,
trying to get back on?
I'm
yeah,
trying to add you
know.
right now, Ben. There you go. There you go. Well, because I remember it was the season opener, and it was Pocket Male 1 to 2, and I had Helios. It's the very first time that I got him in the ring,
Mhm.
and of course I'm nervous because you've met me, and it's his first show, so he has no idea how to really act, and I'm doing my best, and I look behind. Literally, Devin is behind me with whatever dog she had at the time, and cool as a cucumber. I just looked at her and I was like, it's our first time, just trying to make excuses for ourselves.
Why does that sound? Why does that sound like a little
Well, that's our
teenage high
first.
school
She's
boy?
like, you're doing great. And I'm like, am I? Like, just try.
Hey, that sound like a kid when he kisses his first girl. Like, I'm sorry, this is my first time.
Guys, I'm telling you, every time I've ever beat her, I have celebrated in the most childish fashion you can imagine. One time I've even beat her with her own dog. I'm
Oh
like,
no!
yeah,
Okay, but it was with her dog,
really, I notice all
bruh.
her work. But here's how, look how she does me though. She'll go in with her, like, we will go in, like, we'll go show BRCG because
Yeah.
we represent,
Yeah.
like, we show love to the American Bully community. We don't just go one side. Granted, you
Oh,
guys know I'm
absolutely. But
ABKC for
I've
life,
seen you
tattoo
guys at
across the
BRC. Yeah.
bicep, big as shit. So, like, but Kev Green is my
Yeah.
guy, and so is Miss Jackie. Like, and Anthony
Yeah.
Pope, those are my people. You know, like I used to show at his ABKC Strong shows. Like most of my wins in the show ring were actually at shows that he had hosted.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, so I love the guy. But there are times when I've gone and she would be showing Grand Champion Riot, and she would have like her Grand Champion or Bowser, and like we come down to breed, and it'd be both dogs, and she'd tell me to get in the ring, and Riot only knows
Oh
me for
yeah.
collection. So this is actually a true story. I'm in the ring
Totally
and I
survived.
go to try and collect, or I go to try and stack Riot, and he starts backing up on my hand, like reverse hump in my hand, and
Oh,
Anthony
Anthony.
Pope stops the show and is like, sir, what are you doing to that dog? Do you even know what you're doing? Meanwhile, as soon as I'm trying to get him to focus, all he wants is his mom, who
Oh,
is in front of me with another dog.
Disaster.
And now he either
terrible
wants to
situation.
hump my
He's so
hand or get
confused.
to
He doesn't
her.
know what he wants at this
It
juncture. Does he want mom? Does he want some joy? Like, what
right.
is
He's like,
this?
okay, dad is here. Yeah, dad is here. It's time to hump. And like he's knotted up in the ring, and I'm sitting here trying to get her stand still, and he's
That man.
staying in my shoes. It was a bad experience, but that's how she usually does me. So if I
Oh,
can inch out that win, I'm with it because my handling nowadays,
yeah.
I take a dog in and I let you see what it is. I'm not good at hiding it. So yeah, if the dog is a great dog, then you're gonna see it when I move, and if the dog is not so good, well, it's gonna show.
Yeah.
I am not the skilled handler,
Mhm.
but that win
So you
over
could
her, I'd
milk the
celebrate
shit
it too,
out of
brother.
it.
I would. In fact, I have. Every time I've won one, I'm like, ooh, take that, because she beats me so frequently. It's like a domestic in a different way. She just be
And
effortlessly
you can't
beating me, and it's how
call the
you like
police
that
either.
shit, like it's right. Because they're usually there watching her beat me. It's just
They're like
there's
elbowing you,
always
be like, hey,
spectators.
he's a
It's not
lucky
like it's hidden.
man.
Hey, that's why when we're at the shows, like I will run the
You're on
dogs
potty patrol.
outside. I'll do everything I can. I just try not to end up
Yep.
in the. Oh yeah, somebody's got to. Because there is nothing more embarrassing than your dog shitting in the middle of the ring. If you've ever been there, you know, like you're like mid gate, you're hitting your stride. You're like, yeah, we got this, yeah, and then you feel the lead tighten up, and you
Hey,
look back, and he's just dropping one, and the judge is looking at you like, you didn't take
Mm.
your dog outside, did you? Yeah, that's what you did. You almost had it too, huh? And then you just cost it.
Hey.
You lost your dog there because you didn't
And
take him
and the
outside.
announcer like, can we please get a cleanup to ring too?
Up on ring 2, please.
We need a cleanup,
Right.
and the broom be right there beside him.
Again, those are the MVPs. I
Absolutely.
appreciate the cleanup crews at the shows. I appreciate the people that keep paper towel handy and run up with a paper towel in a baggie, because the quicker we get it up, the less we can offend people. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes
Oh my God,
you don't know what people
that's
feed their
real
dogs
loud.
before a show.
Ooh.
It is
Oh
super
my God,
loud.
have mercy
Yeah,
on
you're
my
like,
soul.
ooh.
My ancestors smell it. It's
Yeah,
bad.
That's where COVID
if anybody has Frenchies, man, I'm telling you,
Hey.
little dogs,
Yeah,
loud
those
smell.
Frenchies are no joke. Woo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Frenchies are
Try,
nasty.
Clear a room.
try them.
Clear a
dogs.
I
You
got
room.
gotta
2
eat,
English
like,
bulldog, boy. It's terrible.
I mean, we're talking tears. You're like, I gotta
bro,
go.
like,
Just like, woo.
no, I feel it. It's like they shit on your upper lip. Like you try to brush the
Man,
smell away, but it's like
And it's
it's right
absorbed
there.
I
into
was
your
It's
asleep the
bad.
other night. I got woke out my sleep. I'm talking about.
dang.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, they will wake you up in your sleep. And look, I'm gonna be for real, guys. I've been so scared I was gonna get pink eye from Lucky. This motherfucker always starts with his head on my shoulder, right? His head. Every time it's his head. And then I wake up in the middle of the night, like 4 a.m. I'm trying to figure out why there's a fucking pig snout, pardon my language.
Not what
Why
it
there's
is.
a pig snout in my face.
No,
It's
it
his
is.
big old bully butthole. It's that giant, and you wake up in the morning, you wonder why your breath smells like shit, and then you have to bring your dogs.
That's how
Like
they
it's
show their
just yeah,
love.
Oh my
it
God.
happened. I've been
You're
cropped
right.
up.
I
This
feel
is uncalled
violated. This
for.
is so wrong.
Hey.
Yeah.
These are the things people don't talk about. That, like, I try to tell folks all the time, like, dog people are,
Oh,
you can talk about stuff like this with
absolutely.
dog people and laugh it up. You cannot have a normal conversation with regular people like we're having right now. They're like, these people, what is wrong with these people? Yeah, no, true story. You love your dogs, and I like my dogs more than I like
Yeah.
people.
Oh yeah.
They're
There's
genuine.
no
Like
lies.
they're always happy to see you. If they don't like you, they don't bullshit. They'll shit in your
Among
shoe
other
and shred your
things. Yeah.
pillow. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're very, very straightforward. And I love my dogs. But if you live your life in the company of dogs,
Oh
you have
yes.
some funny stories to tell that other dog people will laugh at
Oh
because
yeah. I get some weird
they feel
looks when
your
I try to
pain.
tell people certain stories about the boys. Like they're just like, oh my God, that sounds awful. I tell these guys, and they're just like, oh, well, this one time, and then
Uh-huh.
they have a story that's incredibly relative. Like so, it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, absolutely. We all relate in that regard.
Oh yeah. I had somebody ask me about how exactly do you extract
You like say it with a chest.
well, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm like, are you
Stroking.
asking if I jack
I
my
be
dog off? Because I
stroking.
do.
Right.
Like,
You're like
I get the glove out.
the
But see, I don't. I have to break it down for him. No, I don't. I don't be stroking.
oh
Like,
God,
okay,
here we go.
true story. First time I saw somebody collect a dog, it was this lady at a Ricky Petraska show, and she was at a baseball diamond. So like, there's like the baseball diamond light, and she linked this dog back on her. I think it was Grand Champion Callie Chrome, maybe Callie Gold Rush, and she was like long stroking the dog. The dog was leaned back against her chest, and she was pulling the dog in a way that I can only describe as mortifying. I was like, I
Only
am
fan
never,
ain't got
never
nothing
doing
on
that
this.
shit.
Oh my
So I
God.
used to pay. No, I'm telling you, man. So I would pay Nathan Lehman with Castro. We used to call him Uncle Nasty Nate. I would pay Nate to come and collect the dogs. I was like,
Yeah.
bro, I'm not
I can't
ever
watch
doing
this
that.
again.
I'm not doing it. No. So like Nate would make it. He would make it like the most mortifying thing he could. Like, oh, y'all like that, do you? And he'd make little funny noises and shit. So like, I would not want to do it. I'd be like, man, I don't know what the hell is wrong with these people. I'm not touching a dog dick, right? So it came forward to a point where I had to either refund $2,500 or collect a dog myself. And I decided to bite the bullet, and I looked up a YouTube video, even though I had seen it
Clearing your
100 times.
throat.
Most times I blushed and turned away, like, I am not doing this shit. So you really only got to slide back past the ball, and then you flip the ball behind them. You don't have to do any stroking or none of that shit. So like me and Lucky, we have a full understanding. If he tries to hump my hand, I will not do it. I'll pull my hand away and walk away. Like, I'm not doing it, bro. You know
Not
what to do. Like,
consensual, sir.
don't sit here and try and hump on me. No. You know what? We're going to slide it back, lock it up, flip it behind you. And that's the way I collect my dogs. Well, my wife will simulate her hand and let them hump her hand for a second until they're in a situation where they're comfortable. I had to collect Bowser one time. I grabbed Bowser and flipped him behind and locked him up and spun around, bit my funny bone. He was like, I don't know what the hell you're doing. This is
Mom
not how
does
this
it.
goes.
I am
Unhand
a
my
boy, Damon.
right, right. He hit me with the I'm a boy, Damon. Yeah, he was not with it. Like he looked insulted,
Oh,
unhappy, and then
wow.
the process kicked in. He was like, "Oh, this isn't so bad." But yeah, like so like me and Lou is like my wife does the majority of the collections, but like Lou and Riot I'll collect
Yeah.
because they're my highest traffic dogs, and honestly, like there for a while. I wouldn't let anybody collect Lucky but me once I figured out how to collect them because I had heard so many horror
Yep.
stories about
Oh, yeah.
ruptured veins and like some people passed off like injuries and said that they were like injuries due to
Oh,
collection,
right.
but the reality is it was urethra prolapse. Do your research on the urethra prolapse. It's
Yeah.
dominant in English bulldogs. It's
Mhm.
kind of predominant in our breed. It does happen. And if you've ever seen it happen, it's actually like horrific. The first time I ever saw it happen, I was like, I took a dog to an emergency vet in like 2010, crying, talking about my dog is dying,
It's
his dick exploded,
it.
like he is bleeding to death through his penis, his gums are fucking white. I need you to open the door, he is dying. They made fun of me in that emergency vet office, like, are you serious? And I'm like,
Look
he is
at
leaking
it.
blood from his, those don't bleed. We don't
No.
bleed. Like this is not normal. And it was a heavy gooch to a Dax female that I think Jonathan Rivera might have produced. It was off of a
Hmm.
Dax star named Coco Chanel to heavy gooch blood, and he was chocolate. And actually, liver dogs tend to carry more issues than non-liver dogs. The same way that dilute dogs, like when you
Yeah.
have generations of
Yep.
blue to blue to blue,
Yep.
you
Yep.
can
Yep.
run into canine alopecia and skin issues. So like early 2010 and on, I've really tried to expand my knowledge
Mm-hmm.
back to what we were talking about, how knowledge is power. The more you can learn about what's in the breeds, what's there, it can help you produce better dogs. The same way some people will ridicule you for health testing, but let's say you have a dog that fails a health testing. That doesn't mean the dog is trash. That doesn't mean the dog should be thrown away unless it like has no hip sockets whatsoever, or like a major murmur or something along those lines. But if you have a minor issue, if you have like a dog that needs improvement, go to a dog that's OFA advanced cardiac.
Mm-hmm.
Go to a dog that's OFA elbows,
Yep.
OFA hips. Breed to a dog that's better. If you have a dog that's a CRD carrier, then go to a non-carrier. Go non-carrier to carrier and create
Yeah.
non-present.
Yeah.
There's roadmaps to everything out there with the breed, and if
Research.
people would take the time to study what's there, they could produce better dogs. But the
Hmm.
desire for money overpowers the
Yeah.
desire for a legacy of a program.
Yes.
For me, I'm all about the legacy of the program. So like I've taken the long way, I've taken the long road. I'm 5 generations in. I have my 5 times lucky stock. I even have dogs that have my original stuff. But
Yeah.
kind of how we were talking about the tool previously, I have some dogs that go back to my original stock, but then have the original look of some of my original dogs too. So it's like at that point in time, it's like they should go live on somebody's couch and live
Yeah.
their best life and be a dog because our breed
Yes.
has evolved. And
Yes.
the need for a classic is there. Classics are beautiful dogs with beautiful structure, but a classic American bully
Right.
should not be lacking in any way, shape, or form. A classic American bully should still have wow. A classic American bully should still have all of the features and breed characteristics of the breed. And if you look at our breed was always an extreme breed. It was never
Right.
a breed that was meant to not be extreme. Because if you look at it in comparison to every other
It's
breed of
instinctive.
dog,
Yeah.
it is an extreme dog. When we talk about features, how one feature should never overpower another. A lot of people think bone and mass are strictly breed
Yes.
characteristic. But let's talk about like the XL class. If you were to look at an XL class and a South African Boerboel walked in the ring, a dog's going to have the most bone and mass. That does not make it an American bully. Bone and mass are key components to breed characteristic and silhouette. It should be visually apparent in both. It is in the 5 elements of breed type, but don't necessarily make up the 5 elements of breed
Right.
type. They're key components, but not the sole deciding factor. And balance.
Mm.
Balance in the breed is so important. So many people forget about balance. You're looking at a dog from the front, it looks like Arnold in his prime, but then you get to the rear, and when the dog takes a drink, it does a handstand because it has no ass. The dog should be as thick as it is through the rear as it is from the front. Our breeds
Mm-hmm.
our breed standards call for balance and proportion, you know? And when we talk about the dog from foot to withers to point of chest to point of
Yes.
rear, they should be square and compact. Our breed calls specifically in the standards for the dogs to be compact. And some people are missing the mark on that, and we're getting dogs that seem to be just a little bit longer. When they come out the kennel and they just keep going.
You're picking them out at the top, and you're like, and there's still more dog.
Yeah, you can go slide from the shoulders to the back, and it's like, yeah, this is a long road to travel. On the road again. But, first and foremost, and I probably should have started the interview with this. I start all my interviews with this. These are my opinions as a dog man, not as a judge with the ABKC. When I speak on the breed standards, I'm also speaking from the knowledge that I've picked up and learned over the years from reading and studying our breed, because I love the American Bully. But my opinions and what I speak on as a dog man and as a breeder from my 15 years of experience as a breeder versus my 5 years experience as a judge. I'm very passionate about this, but one thing you will find is, like I said, guys, I'm from the hood. I literally come from the bottom, and I came from the case generation where we used to roast each other at lunch. So I like to laugh. I will crack jokes because I'm a firm believer. If you're not having fun, if you're not laughing, what are you doing in life? And if you can't laugh about it, you're too serious about it. If I have a dog that has a fault and you want to make fun of it, feel free. I am totally cool with it. I don't mind it. That's how we get better. And I don't mind when people are straightforward about it. But what does bother me is when you run into people who are spreading misinformation. There's people who are trying to lead you in the right direction, and there are people who are diverting you to the direction they want to steer you. Usually because they feel that they can sell you something or
Yes.
have a gain from you. Find yourself a mentor that has nothing to gain from it. Like I said, my mentors, Ty Lumley, never bought a dog from Ty. The guy taught me a shit ton. Like Bull in the China Shop, his podcast was full of all kinds of useful information. You could talk dogs with that man 24/7. Just online, for people who knew Ty came off as an asshole. But it was just that was his defense mechanism. Like when you actually got to know the guy, he's a good dude. He really was. I was like, oh, Ty, you're awesome, bro. Like you're a really good guy. But he taught me a lot. Rolando, I would hang out with him after shows and we would talk dogs for hours. And what it came down to is like every time I brought a dog in his ring I thought he wouldn't like it because the dog wasn't right. And after he said it, and I'd go back and he would cite this in the breed standard. This is where the dog lacks this, this, and this. And early on, kennel blind was a real thing. I couldn't see through what I like. I loved my dogs. But now I love the breed more than I love my personal dogs. So I look at the standard because I feel like the standards are what's put in place to protect our breed that we all love. If our it's the guidelines that tells us what the breed should be. And essentially when people look at the diagrams, your pockets, your classic, your standard, and your XL all look the same in the diagram. And I can actually take realistic dogs and show you a classic, a pocket, a standard, and XL that all fit just like that, where they all look prospectively the same. And that's how it should be. But getting people to want to produce a consistent dog. Everybody always wants to produce the next big thing. And what happens in desiring a different look, breeders often accept changes. Judges, even in other registries like AKC, UKC, FCI, they will get used to a change that popular breeders bring into the market. And as the breeders begin to change and the breed begins to change, they start to accept little things that were put into play that essentially were put there to protect the breed. And in getting comfortable and accepting that we as the gatekeepers of the breed, we're actually not doing our part to help the breed advance. Now, as breeds evolve, if you look, the dogs from 20 years ago, they were not as consistent as what we have now. But we are seeing a lot of things still to this day that you see a lot of faults that come in, that it's because people are trying too hard to isolate the next big thing. And they're not looking at the faults that are there with an open eye. If you look at what's there and you assess the dogs and you go, okay, well, this dog has this feature and this feature has been passed. And if you look at its parents, another thing, people look at your parentage on your dogs, look at litter mates, assess the entire gene pool, because what's there is actually in your gene pool. You have to look at everything that's there, and one dog can't, like Lucky is the base of my program. But if you look, I ran Furious to produce Riot. I've run Riot to produce Grand Champion Ravage and Champion Pirate. Like, I've used different pieces of the generational play, but I have all of my studs have offspring that
where they
look
come
just
from.
like them.
100%, yeah.
And that's because of really hard work. you know, like putting it in. And, you know, a lot of my best dogs have come off of putbacks, because just because I have really nice bitches doesn't mean I have the best bitch for my studs. So I actually isolated in the beginning. I think my last putback
Mhm.
was probably like 3 years ago. I kind of cut back on doing putbacks, but um, I will approach a grand champion female with beautiful structure and a beautiful rear that
Right.
I know my dog will produce well with, you know, because that improves the breed. I will actually knock prices down on stud fees too. Like if you bring me a top quality bitch, but you want to cash out and you don't want to give a pup up, man, for a bitch that I think is going to improve the legacy, man,
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll
Let's do
knock
this.
500 off it. Bring me a dual grand
Hmm.
champion female. Let's better the breed.
Yeah.
You know, and if my dogs can't do it, I'm honest about it. But I have a program that has generations of dogs built off of dogs that were built
Yes.
off of dogs that were built off of dogs. And to me, that is more important than 100 likes on a post or 1,000 likes. You know, to me, having consistency in your program, that is what makes me hit the like button. That is what makes me shout out random people. Like I just shouted
Hmm.
this guy out, Palacio Bullies. Like his program is literally Palacio to Palacio to Palacio to Palacio to Palacio, and yo,
Yeah.
those dogs are nice dogs. And I had never actually even spoke any words to him. I had just kind of been following his program, and I mentioned him. He was like, "Thanks, man. I really appreciate you shouting
Yeah.
the program." I said, "Bro, that is a huge accomplishment." And I think that the people who are mid-level pioneers and the pioneers of the breed, I love when I see Dave Wilson comment on somebody's post, and when he tells them, like, because I know how it feels. Like I know that when Dave comments on somebody's shit, they're like, "Oh my God, Dave Wilson commented on my post.
Yeah.
That's awesome." You know, that means you're on the right track. Well, same thing. Like I will compliment people quickly, because if you're doing right by the breed, that's all that matters to me. I don't care if your stud could be in competition with my stud. I have my own buyer demographic, so I am not worried about
Yeah.
interfering in my market. I'd like to shout people out when I see nice programs or nice dogs, you know, and even if I don't necessarily agree with some people's business ethics or how they carry themselves in public, like if your dog is producing, your dog is producing, you know. And not everybody's built to be humble. We all know this. There are some people out there that it is their thing and they love it, and
Right.
hey, whatever works for you, I'm cool with that. Me, I'm always going to be the humble, let's laugh about it, talk dogs, have a good time. But also, when it comes to the show ring, you can ask my friends, they don't win under me.
Right.
It like you have to bring the best dog. If you brought the
Right.
best dog that day, hey, you got it. But if you did not, it doesn't matter who's on the end of that lead. I am literally looking at each dog for its prospective class and then comparing that
Love
dog
it.
against the breed standard for its category. Is this pocket a better pocket than this standard is a
Definitely.
better standard? You know, I will break things down in the show ring. I'm real quick to point out Ryejaw, and I'll ask people, do you know what Ryejaw is? Because a lot of people don't. Now, in the ABKC breed standard, it is considered a minor fault in comparison. It's
Underbite. Yeah.
considered about the same as an overbite or a underbite. But to me, I look at a Ryejaw
Oh
as
yeah.
being more serious than just an underbite or an overbite. In fact, it's a disqualification like the FCI or
Yeah.
the AKC and UKC. And the reason why I followed this is because we are the
Yes.
parent registration for the American Bully. But when it comes to the English Bulldog, the Old English Bulldog, the French Bulldog, when it comes to these other breeds, even when I'm doing
Mhm.
my Cane Corsos or my Pressos, like we're not the original registry. So I go back to the
Yep.
original parent registries and I look at the breed standards there,
Good at
because
you.
that is where the breed
Hmm.
started. They're the original person who is preserving the breed, and that is where I should start as a judge, is knowledge in each prospective breed and the
Yeah.
registrations that gave the breeds homes.
Oh, I love that. Do you, and this is just, it's not, it's obviously not theory because that's not what this is, but do you feel that sometimes when people are breeding, they're taking the shortcuts, like they're trying to go from obviously having something way too extreme to something that it lacks because they just really, really want to fix a mistake. And instead of playing the long game, they're trying to fix things within one generation. Um,
I
yeah,
think more of the mistakes come from the shortcuts. I think the longer road and pairing nice dogs to nice dogs and adding a little bit each generation, it takes longer. And a lot of people want to
right.
try and isolate that next big thing. and they don't realize that in those shortcuts you can end up with broken hearts and shattered dreams. I have found a lot of times your biggest bulliest pup in the litter, the one that you're like, holy shit, usually falls apart. Like as they hit 6 to 8 months,
Yeah.
their shoulder assembly tends to be more forward and less upright. You start to lose forechest. I've used the word forechest in the interview probably like 7, 8 times. When you look at a dog from the side, you should see forechest, and then about 5, 6 inches back, maybe 4 inches back, you should see the start of your shoulder angulation and your shoulder assembly. But a lot of these dogs are so forward and upright in the shoulder assembly that when you look at them from the side, you see the shoulder before you see the forechest. What happens is the forechest drops back and becomes more cathedraled,
Yep.
which is an actual term where the chest sits back. And in doing that, when you move your shoulder assembly forward, so when you run down the withers, you should run directly into the elbow. But you're looking at a big gap when a lot of these dogs, because their shoulder angulation is off. So when you run down the withers, there's about a 2-inch gap to the elbow. And what that does is that takes a breed that calls for the dogs to be square and compact. And it actually makes the dog longer by 2 inches from point of chest to point of rear. It actually makes the dog appear longer, because when you look at from that elbow going to the turn to stifle and the stifle on the dog, or the upper thigh or lower thigh, when you're looking at that, you'll see that the dog is now longer. Whereas if the shoulder had been pushed back 2 inches, if you actually look at dogs from the side that have it with an open mind, even if it's your own dogs, if it's somebody else's dogs, look at it, and then if you were to visually move it back 2 inches, now the dog actually looks like it would be square in that area versus 2 inches longer. Forechest is something we're losing a lot of in the breed. We're also seeing a lot of bulldog rear assemblies where the dogs are a little straighter in the stifles and they have more hewed out hips, or you'll even see a little bit of a bulldog roll on the gait. And, you know, even though the dogs have mass, essentially this goes back to, if a dog can be mistaken for another breed, then the dog lacks breed type. So even if the dog has bone and has mass, so does an English bulldog. And if you were to silhouette out the two, if it resembles a English bulldog with cropped ears, if you're looking at the dog from the side profile and you're seeing a layback and an upturned muzzle, or
That,
you know,
that
that
right
makes
there.
a difference.
That's that's his baby.
Yes, sir. I remember
Yeah,
giving that
yes,
dog a
you
check
did.
at the Georgia
Yes,
show.
you did. The bad dog.
Hey,
See, and I love each prospective breed for what they are too. And like a beautiful English bulldog is a beautiful thing to see. You know, but also then you have breeders. The same thing is how I was speaking about how breeders get involved in seeking a change. Well, these extreme ropes are they're really honestly not good for the dogs. There are people that are breeding for
They're
dogs
just
that almost
roping
look
and
like
rope. Yeah.
Shar-Peis, where the
The
rope actually
rope
goes
sensors.
over the nose, as well as like stenetic nares. If a dog has, a lot of breeders don't even understand what that is, but if your nostrils are closed, the dog can't properly breathe. Now you add in stenetic nares, and you throw in an elongated soft palate, and you have
Yes.
the formula for a heat stroke. But people will still bring these dogs out on a 100-degree day, thinking it's 100 degrees, but it's AC'd inside. It's still 70 degrees inside. You're walking the dog back and forth. You're walking them on asphalt that's hot as could be. You know, on a 100-degree day, you're talking about like 120 degrees on asphalt, maybe hotter. Their feet are blistering, they're burning. You know, these things are really important. People have to take into consideration that these dogs have
Right.
issues that if you don't know how to identify them, then you're running into issues where dogs are passing early. Like stenetic nares, you can take your dog in and have an elongated soft palate surgery done. You can have stenetic nares shaved, and they'll be able to breathe a lot better. There are saccules in the throat that actually swell sometimes. It often sounds like an elongated soft palate, but it's not. There's a surgery for that. Looking at the things that come with the base breeds. If you look at the problems, because English Bulldogs, it's a beautiful breed, but it's a breed that if not bred properly has a plethora of health problems that come along with it, and breeders still manage to breed them and breed them responsibly. Well, the same thing, if you're going to breed American Bullies, there are some things that can come along with different lines, or even just the breed, or even just inbreeding. Like people want to blame one line, and what they don't realize is like if you're inbreeding a dog so many times, if you were to put it into human perspective, if you were to do a brother sister breeding and then breed back to the uncle or the dunkle, the daddy uncle, you would end up with a child with one eyeball looking like
The
Lilo from
Habsburgs,
Futurama.
like the whole
So
dynasty, eventually.
genetics, yeah, the genetics, it's just like it's the right path for the wrong turn. There's things that are there that if we don't look at, you can't improve. Like a lot of people don't look at their dog's nostrils and go,
Right.
this dog has phonetic nares. It's one of the first things I look at
Mm-hmm.
because I want my dogs to breathe healthy. And my base breed and base line for my line is Dax line. And Dax, whether he was,
Mm-hmm.
I believe Dax was off of what he was said to be off of, but his
Yeah.
features are
Yeah.
definitely hyper typed towards the bulldog. Although, with respects, I will say this. First time I saw the dog, I thought Dax was going to have
Yeah.
like a really
Mm-hmm.
bad bite. He did not. He actually had a clean bite. The only major thing that I saw in him, aside from the fact that he carried like one of the largest crests and shoulder that I had seen, like
Yeah.
his neck and shoulders were crazy. But he had the straighter stifles. Like, and people tried to butcher the dog online with videos and saying he was this horrible dog. When I went and saw him, like, I can send you guys
Yeah.
the picture. I was ecstatic. I was
Yeah.
mind blown. I was starstruck. Like, I was
Nerding
still a
out,
baby in the game, and I beat
fangirling.
Ed Shepherd and Dax, which was like my favorite dog. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was cheesing. Like, I was, damn, this is an amazing dog. And but if you breed off of dogs that or if you breed for dogs that come off of lines that carry more of a bulldog phenotype, then you have to understand like what comes with those traits. And my favorite
Mm-hmm.
dogs are American bullies that carry American bully type, but I like dogs to carry more bone and mass, and that is a trait that was not isolated through the Amstaff or the American Pit Bull Terrier. There were other features that have come into our breed. And I cannot vouch for where anybody put anything into play, but what I can tell you is most of the faults on the American Bully, several of them
Yeah.
fall under breed
Yeah.
standard for other breeds. So we have to look at what's there, but when we get those hyper type dogs,
Yeah.
we need to not breed those
Yes.
hyper type dogs towards hyper type dogs. Like Grand
Mm-hmm.
Champion Riot is a hyper type dog. He has an amazing body, beautiful structure, great forechest, good shoulder angulations, good turn to stifle, proportionate back. But his head, to me, his head is a hyper type. He has
Right.
more bulldog features. He has a little more wrinkle than I'd like in the face. Now his jaws have at 4 because he goes back to old school blood, which is
Oh,
Lucky, Phenom, Havoc, and
yeah.
G2. At 4, he popped and his jaws have really filled out. But he still has a little more wrinkle than I'd like. But with him, when I take him to dogs that have a hair more muzzle, because he's a 5
Yeah.
generation head type, like it is generations of head on head on head on head. And what I've been able to do with him is I can take him to a female who has a beautiful
Yeah.
body but may have a little longer of a muzzle or a slightly terrier like muzzle. And I've been able to breed him to those dogs and push that muzzle back but get a better head.
Right.
Tighter skin, tighter jaws, 90-degree stop, 2-finger muzzle. Like that's an example of taking a dog who I was blessed that he was able to do as well as he's done. He's a dual grand champion, and I'm gonna take him to another registry, just try and get a triple title
Which
because he's a really
registry?
nice dog. But he's a tool. I was thinking about trying the ICBR, but they're pretty much on the I want to say
East
the
Coast.
Yeah.
West Coast.
Most coast. Yeah. Yeah.
But he's
Oh, so
already
he's
an
already
ABKC Grand
piercing.
and a BRCG Grand, and for yeah, I finished him as a Grand there first, and then
Mm-hmm.
ABKC I showed him when he was 2. He made it to champion, and I brought him out and I was losing, and I asked the judges why I was losing because as a judge myself, I'm totally open to constructive criticism. And a lot of them just said, his head's just too hyper type.
Yeah.
If the dog can resemble another breed,
Yeah.
then essentially it lacks type. And his head type to us at the moment resembles, more of a bulldog. And I took that and I sat on it for 2 years. And at 4, I looked at him and was like, man, I think I'm going to give it another try. Like he
Mm-hmm.
is huge right now. His jaws have really
Kind
filled out.
of rebalances things.
Excuse me. So I did.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He changed. He matured. He filled out and he looked better. And we came out and, just recently I took him to a show where there was a former champion class winner for nationals, 2 top 10
Yeah.
dogs and a top grand champion. And we did not show shows 1, 2, and 3. And for shits and giggles, I told the wife,
Yeah.
I was like, throw him in show 4. Fuck it. We'll see how it goes.
Nice.
And
Nice.
yeah, he did the
Nicely
best in
done.
show. I mean, and he almost beat Hangman once. And I literally was like, okay, first off, I don't know if I agree about that because I'm very partial to Hang, and as a judge, you can't judge the dog.
Hangman.
He's a very nice dog, but Hang, he's a hell of a dog. Like,
And
dog does not
you
photograph
see
well.
him
He
in
does not
person, you're
look
like,
like
oh
he
my
has the
God.
substance he does until you see
Like,
him.
you just can't.
When you're standing over him, his neck is huge, his head is huge, his shoulders are huge,
Yeah.
his bone is solid. But when you look at the visual breed standards and the ridden breed
Mhm.
standards, he fits both very well. But for the amount of
Yeah.
mass that we call for on a dog, the fact that he moves the way he moves
Yeah.
while
Oh,
actually
yeah.
displaying that mass is crazy. But every dog can be beat, and I will say this, I am excited to see the next big dog. I am excited to see the top up and comers that are coming out this year, because Hang is coming out and he is showing with the wife, but he's not a dog that's going to be running for top dog this year. There's just, they want to show a couple places they've not shown and show under judges they've not shown under last year. You know, it's more of a just, it's his owner is very passionate and my wife really enjoys showing the dog, but I have not been able to judge the
Yeah.
dog since he was 12 months old. It was the end of 2022, and I saw him at a year, and he actually ended up taking a best in show underneath me, and I was like, wow, this is a really well balanced dog. I thought he was going to
Really?
finish as a classic though, and as the next year progressed, at a year he
Right.
was not like nearly as big as he is. And then there was a whole argument where people were talking about he was a classic, he was a classic, he was a classic, and the dog come walking up. My wife come back from picking him up. This is probably like 6 months ago. And he come walking up, and I'm like, hey, how's it hanging, buddy? And as he just got closer and closer and
Yes.
closer, I was like, Jesus, what have they been feeding this dog? I actually measured his head that day, and it's 27
Mercy.
inches. I have a video of me measuring his head. He's very well proportioned too, like from the front and from the rear. The only thing is he has a
Mhm.
tuck. So when you're looking at him from the side, it goes from chest drop to a well sprung rib cage to a tuck. And I feel like that, along with the black color, makes him look a little smaller. But he is a beautiful representation of the breed. Grand Champion Blue, his father, is an amazing representation of the breed. Zero had an
Yes.
amazing run and is a beautiful representation of the breed. Grand Champion Samson, his owners don't like me, but
In
the
other words,
dog
it's like,
is
I
a
don't have to like you to like
badass.
your
He
dog. I mean,
produces
that's
amazing. Exactly. You know, there was some history, there was some lives they made and whatnot, but you know, I don't do drama. And the truth is people ask me about the dog, and I'm very
fantastic. Right.
honest. I said the dog's a hell of a producer,
Mhm.
and to me, he screams American Bully. You know, and there's no two ways around that. And that's what some people need to understand is like
Sure.
Oh,
give the
absolutely.
flowers while the people are here. You know, and for me, I'm giving the flowers to the dog. I just want to make that clear. Samson is a hell of
Yeah.
a badass. His brother Madden's also really nice. You know, Grand Champion Bear. I loved the Bear when the Bear came out. You know, and that was one of the greatest show seasons for me and my wife in as far as competing because there was the three Bs. There was Bowser, Bentley, and Bear. And Diane and Ben and my wife and Mike Ruiz, like we were all friends.
Yeah.
Even though when
Oh, yeah.
we were out there to kick each other's ass,
Yeah.
100%. We were there to compete. But we would go out after the shows, win, lose, or draw. We'd take pictures. We'd stack the dogs up. We'd swap
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
handlers with dogs. We made it fun. So
Yeah.
I would love to see more people enjoy that. And I would love to see more exceptional dogs come out because what happens is yearly there's that one dog that comes out. Like if you guys remember when Blue debuted, it was Oklahoma. I didn't even know who Kira was. She showed up. My wife was like, who is this girl with this dog? She took like 4 best in shows with a puppy. And
Yeah.
Blue was a monster
Blue was
when he
big.
first came out.
It's
And
big.
Yeah,
then
because
he just
that was
progressively
the Oklahoma show, and then yeah. Then they went
Sean
to
Mullins.
then was it Tennessee they went to the next show?
I don't know, man. They went on some clean sweeps. I was in Oklahoma
Mm-hmm.
because it's right by us. Like
Yeah.
the local show that Sean and Coop host, that's
Okay.
literally like a 2.5 hour drive from me. And she did really well with him, but I still didn't even know who Kira was until later the next year because her and John Surteza
Mm-hmm.
are married, and John is one of my mentors too. Like a lot of people don't know, the judge John Surteza was actually the guy who produced Corrupt. A lot of people think it was Corrupt Blood's Hearn. It was not. John and his partner produced Corrupt. John's just very humble and he doesn't talk about that much. So I make sure I beat on my
The
monkey
more
chest for it.
you
Like, yeah,
know.
bro, John
Man, and I've
produced
been
Corrupt.
looking
It's
for
really cool. That
Corrupt.
Corrupt Blood,
I've been
that
looking
came
for
from John
Corrupt. I
Surteza.
finally got a little piece of it, but I've been looking for Corrupt for about 3 years now.
man, for the right corrupt blood, it is some of the best blood you can get. I'm a firm believer in the old school bloods. Like even
Johnson.
Riot. Riot is a present day dog, but Riot is he's all old school blood. He's all his blood is like you're talking Lucky, who's 11, Phenom, who was from pre-Lucky because before Lucky I had Phenom's brother Goldie, so he predated Lucky. You've got Havoc, who's 13 and still alive. You know, Dax, that was, you know, the G2, like the real G2 too. You know what I'm saying? It was a formula. I use older bloods because I trust it. But even the lines that are tried and true, if you look, the base formulas of those lines go back to some OG blood,
Yeah.
and then breeders who knew what they're doing. Like Khan and Sam with the Foking blood, they know what they're doing. They have figured it out. Ashton, he put the right blend of Booby coming from Andre Willard at Reliance Kennels going to Grimm. You know, like it takes breeders and the right blood. And what I'm seeing, the best, most consistent bloodlines to me are still spawned off and based off of dogs that were very
Yes.
important
Oh yeah,
foundational blocks for
and
the
that's. I
breed
mean,
10 years
I
ago.
hate to
Oh,
say it.
Johntae's all about that.
Oh no, I was just thinking. Now corrupt, I'm still looking for it because that's where I want to bring in. But anyway, I ain't gonna tell y'all my secret.
Does
Ask him
Yeah,
about
he
Rock and
I
Ruby.
know
got.
Ask
Mark
him about
D
Yeah.
that.
has really
He's
nice
super
corrupt
sick.
blood dogs. I don't know about. Hey,
Oh yeah.
Bowser's like 5 times Rock and Ruby. I love Rock and when I think of an edge headpiece, I think of Rock and Ruby, because Rock and Ruby, the two dogs, when you look at them, did not have the head type that they threw, but when they threw and what they
Mm-hmm.
produced
Oh yeah.
was amazing. In fact, a lot of people bring up Grand Champion Shamrock out of my program. Shamrock's 3 generations of my produced. They're like, I need to know how Shamrock came off of a dog that was 16 inches and a female that was 13 inches. I said, well, it's really simple if you understand the pedigree. So
Yep.
2 times Lucky is 4 times Easy Rider. Easy Rider was a big ass standard. Goes
Yep.
back to Chief Blood. And then when you go Black Gold, Utopia's mother, she was off of Goldie, which was Phenom's brother, bred to a Champion Jamba Juice daughter. Now Champion Jamba Juice came
Okay,
off of
yeah.
Tonka SS, and Tonka SS came off of Rock and Ruby. So now you got 4 times Easy Rider, Jamba Juice, Tonka SS, and Rock and
Mm-hmm.
Ruby, all big standard dogs. So that's where Shamrock just kind of pulled from the genetic lotto of big dogs, and because of that,
He
though,
throws
when bred to big dogs, he
he
throws
throws
big
some
dogs.
really big tops.
Right. Everybody's like, well, how did that happen? It's right there, but I won't lie. Like I tried taking Lucky to like big dogs to get a dog his size, and I'll be damned if I never got it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lucky still produced big dogs, but he never
And
produced
an
a chamois. Shamrock was
anomaly.
like
Yeah.
he was an
Yeah.
anomaly. It was genetic lotto. He popped up with everything that you needed. He had a 27-inch head. He was 110 pounds. He was a dog that just had a lot of wow. And I really was like intrigued by how Lou threw that. But I found Lucky will throw bigger dogs. He was on the cusp. I always wanted him to be extreme because when I started, I had Extreme Champion Pocket Rocket, Extreme Champion Mr.
Right.
Marvelous. I had extreme dogs. And Lucky was too short for the extreme class, but he had all the features. So I wanted to produce bigger dogs because we're living in a generation of dog breeders that are literally like, I've got an extreme dog, and you look at the dog, you're like, that dog is 14 inches. You know the extreme class starts at
Right.
17 inches and goes to 20 inches. These dogs are supposed to be big. It's an extreme micro. I don't know if that's a such thing. That's like saying
Hey,
you have a
right,
classic
right.
pocket. That doesn't exist.
Does
If you
not
have a pocket
exist.
dog who's classic, it's just a
Hey,
pocket that lacks type. You know,
man,
that's
they got
same
dogs.
concept.
They got dogs skint back
But
like dust sacks out here. So anything is possible.
man, I have recently seen a fluffy bully and a hairless bully, and I've got to say it kind
Yeah.
of makes me
Oh,
question
I'm
what
telling
breed
you,
I'm
people are
with you.
doing.
skint back like a wax duck sack. I'm letting you know now. It's terrible.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
Oh,
speaking the truth,
Oh,
brother.
yeah.
But to each their own. You know, I'm not one of those people too. When I see something, like there are some people that are educators in the breed who will
Yeah.
publicly like go on somebody's post and attack them. You will never catch me doing that. If I see something that is really wrong and I see people like roasting the person, I will usually go private inbox and, make some suggestions and try and help them. But I don't think it's really right to, if you try to see somebody who's producing, if somebody's trying to produce nice dogs and they've just been misled, the worst thing you can
Yeah.
do is jump on there and be a
Yeah.
Karen or a Kyle. And if there's anybody named Kyle, my apologies.
Or
That's just the
something.
only
I
thing I
don't
think of for a
know.
male
A
Karen.
Todd.
Yeah. Oh,
Sorry
Todd. There you go.
to the Todds out
Sorry
there.
to the
Yeah,
Todds out
my
there.
bad.
But yeah, you and
I
they're
know some great
Karens. I know some
Karens.
people who got
I also know some bad
our
Karens.
wife's
I know
name
some
is
Karen
Karen. She's
Karens.
awesome. Yeah, no, it's just for the metaphor of it though. Like if you come off
Yeah.
rude and you're
Right.
just condescending, you're not helping anybody. If you really want to help somebody, they've already been beat down or sold pipe dreams. So instead of just, coming further and adding insult
Right.
to injury, let them know what the dog should look like, where they should go. Suggest them, some positive breeders who will send them the right direction.
Yeah.
Give them a mentor. Offer to mentor them or introduce them to somebody who has time to mentor them. Help teach, because like you said, for each one that you teach, you reach one. What if you are reaching out and you're trying to educate people? That's the best thing you can do, because again, we all love this breed. So if we're not taking the time to educate people in the breed, then we're
Right.
essentially letting our breed down by not doing our part. We're all people who absolutely love this breed, whether you love your pockets, your classics, your standards, your XLs, whether you love your extremes, whether you love your micros. If you're an exotic breeder and you've shown an exotic registration, so long as they're not walking on their knuckles
Right.
and hunched over, like I support nice exotics. I don't personally breed them, but when I see a nice one
Right.
and
Yeah.
somebody's put in work to produce a nice one, I will applaud it. BRCG Nationals Grand Champion Boulder won this year. Matt Martin is an awesome guy who knows his shit when it comes to dogs, and he put in a lot of work. And his exotic program, he has a program where the dogs are functional. Not only do they resemble and look like what an exotic should,
Josh
but they actually
James.
have functionality and the ability to move. So it's nice to see breeders in all breeds, and that's another thing too. Like with the exotics, it's a completely separate breed than the American Bully. If I were to just single out the breed and let personal preference overpower things, then how would I be a good judge for a multi-breed registration? We have 19 breeds in the ABKC that we show, and I like all of them. I minus the American Bulldog that bit me in Barbados. Shout out to that guy. Took my fingernail off, man. I knew better. My spider senses were tingling. I went to open it, like the guy did the half bite. You guys know, as a handler, I know you know. When they show that little half bite, yeah, it's like, no, I need to see the whole bite. And I stuck my finger in there, felt the vibration. I yanked my hand back, but my fingernail
Jeez.
remained. I
God
took the whole
dang,
fingernail right
devil.
off. I said, oh, well played, well
Hey,
played.
so
Yeah.
But I love all
Mm.
breeds.
real quick question. It was
Go
somebody.
ahead.
I know this might be a little touchy subject, but who do you think might be the next top dog, or who might be the dog or dogs to look at for the next up and coming year?
Oh man, I've been at home while the wife has been
Oh,
showing, so I have not been to any shows. So I can't tell
seriously.
you
Hey.
who I think is an up and comer. I can tell you though, there is a dog I saw last show season that really impressed me. Paulina Gamez was handling him. I believe his owner is Jack Skunk.
Little
It's a dog
farmer,
named Grand
the farm
Champion
male.
Gambit.
Oh, okay,
He's a
okay.
lilac tri. Super short back, very proportionate, good chest, straight fronts. For a pocket, he
Nice.
screams American Bully. I like him as a dog. He's one of those dogs that when he came in my ring, I smiled, you know. Or actually, I saw him at our show. We host the Wichita show, and he was at the Wichita show, and he was also, I think he took one of the best in shows at the Georgia show. I mean, there for a while, he was up there. He definitely had a lot of potential. I was also a big fan of Grand Champion Zeus
Yeah.
last year. Me and Ty Sean, we spoke a
Mm-hmm.
lot because he was our competition, and as competitors, we want our competition at the best. So if I saw the dog not moving right or something off, or like he had him overweight, I actually reached out to him, was like, hey, Tyshawn, like you need to take the weight off him. He's not moving the same on the rear as he was when I saw him. Like, nationals is coming up.
Yeah.
These are the things you should improve. And then Tone makes the dog look amazing. Like, he was one of those dogs too that was a complete out of the box dog though. If you've ever looked at that dog's pedigree, I know it was a whole nother live previously, but if you look at that dog's pedigree, it's an out of the box. Like, his dad, Dozer, is off of Heinsberg 2, H2, that Ricky owned, that was like an exotic. But the dog is just, and the bottom half was like XL
His
dogs. So like the dog just came out.
I thought his
nowhere.
bottom half is Rockin' Ruby. It's like Bistro.
It is, but they're big dogs. In fact, one of the males, I think like 2 generations back, goes back to one of Devin's original dogs. Was her littermate brother. So like, and this was like before the dogs had a whole lot of type. Oh, hello, wifey.
I'm gonna go to bed
Big
because I have to get up.
Devin.
Okay. She's going to bed.
My dog's over.
It is 10 o'clock.
But yeah, sorry,
I was about to say, like, I tried to tell you earlier before we even started this. I was like, listen, you're gonna have to tell us when you're done, because we can just sit here and just
Listen.
Right. That's why I don't do a lot of lives too, because
talk
I
it to
will, if
death.
it's just dog conversation, I will talk
hours.
dogs all day.
Absolutely.
every day,
But no,
twice on Sunday.
if it is bedtime, it is bedtime. I totally understand. It's been a fantastic time having you, for real.
As we have to run this back. Enjoyed every second of this. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, if you guys have any more questions, anything, I'm more than happy to answer. If anybody has any questions, my inbox is always open. Sometimes it takes me a little while to get back, because if we're not friends, it goes to the other inbox. I didn't even know that existed until like
It's like,
a
what are all
year
these
ago.
messages?
And I
My
was like,
God.
oh man, no wonder people kept saying like I was like, he's uppity and won't respond. No, I'm not. I swear. I didn't know that existed. I had no idea it was there. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, if anybody has questions about the breed standards, up and coming ABKC shows, events that are going to be quad events, I have, aside from the information on the website, I can send people information. I'm more than happy to tell people where the next shows are so they can get their dogs out and showcase. And if anybody has any questions when in the ring, don't be afraid to ask. Like I said, knowledge is power. Doing your part for the community is a huge thing. So if you have questions and I'm too busy at the time, I will, as soon as I'm out of the ring, I will take the time to step out, talk to you, and help you understand why the decisions were made, and ultimately just try to help guide people in the right direction.
You heard it here first, guys.
And I do want to say thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys for having me on the show. Hope it was a learning experience for some people. I hope some people laughed. I hope nobody cried. But ultimately, just hope that there was some information out here that might help. Because this interview, I talked more as a breeder than a judge. And I hope that some of those things pan out and people take what was said into consideration, because there are a lot of positive ways to breed and a lot of positive things we can teach each other if we just work together as a community. And the last thing I just kind of want to end this on is, don't be afraid to clap, guys. Doesn't hurt. I know we've all been at a show where one person wins and nobody else claps. Like, clap for your fellow breeders. There is nothing wrong with rewarding and saluting and applauding someone else's success, because when you're winning, you want someone to clap for you. So if it's not your turn that day, hey, let them get their flowers, clap, and make sure you enjoy yourself. Because if not, we're just wasting $600 to go on a left-handed square for 12 hours.
They ain't gonna clap because they hate us. They hate us.
Man, you gotta
hate
clap.
us because they hate us.
Enjoy it. Like, there's nothing wrong with. Man, I don't understand it. Like, I would not come to a show just to be bitter and not clap for people. Like, I clap, I whistle, I yell. I look like a cheerleader on the outside, because I feel like if it's your crowning moment, I remember what it was like to get that first blue. I remember being happy just to get a third. I'm like,
I'm
third best dog in this category. Yes.
A ribbon is a ribbon
like
sometimes, man.
So don't
I pay.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to applaud people for their success, man. Like, when you win, I just know if I'm there, I'm happy for whoever's winning. I don't care if you beat my wife, if you beat the other top handlers. In fact, I think that's awesome. I tell people all the time, if
Yeah.
you have a good relationship with your dogs, handle your dogs yourself. Build that bond with them. I handled Lucky exclusively. I handled Maybach exclusively. Like, if you're good with your dogs and you can do it and you have that bond, go out there and get it. Do your best, but also present the dog. Understand handling, understand how to properly present the dog. Because if you don't understand how to properly present the dog, then you're
Yeah.
not doing your dog a great justice. And there are some really nice dogs. And in the lower levels, we're okay with that. Like if you were like a class dog and the handler doesn't know what they're doing, but what the dog moves beautifully and you can just tell it's the better dog, okay. But when you're in the champion category, in the grand champion category, presentation is equally important. I mean, ultimately the movement tells what faults are there, and if the dog falls apart, it doesn't matter how nice you stack the dog. But if you have a nice dog and you're just not presenting it well and not doing justice, then you might want to find a handler, because a handler's job, they know their job. Their job is to present the dog to the best of their ability, to attempt to hide the faults, and my job as a judge is to try and figure out what you're trying
Yep.
to conceal from me and pick the best dog.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
that's
true. It's a game
totally
of cat and mouse, but I'm sneaky.
pressing
I
down
will
on
see
hawks
things, and then
and
as soon
shit.
as you'll
I
get
see
around to
you.
get back to position and be like, you know, I saw that, right? Why you got that finger on that dog's butt?
Hey,
Trying to
and
hold it down.
also while we're here, not to cut you
Yeah.
off, but we really need more kids. Like I ain't got no kids, but we really need to support the kids because I hate to say it, that's the next generation. That's who gonna read our. That's who reading our
Oh, I
history
agree
books. So
100%.
bring your kids out. Like
I do the junior handlers all the time. I actually asked to do junior handlers because I'm a firm
Mm-hmm.
believer that our children are our future. And if we are not taking care of the kids and we are not providing a positive environment for them, then we are failing them. What I mean by that is if you are a parent and your children are in the ring and they lose and you start talking about how they should have won and being bitter and promoting
Absolutely.
poor sportsmanship, you are failing your
amen.
child. You are failing the future of our breed. Our kids are our future. Bring the kids out. And if the kids can all shake hands and high five each other after a class and clap for each other, we as the adults again, we
Absolutely.
should be doing that. But I know it's about to cut off and kick me off the mic. It's about to roll to that 10 o'clock. It's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everybody that listened. Anybody has any questions, my inbox is open. I'm gonna go to bed before my wife kicks me in
Yeah, let's say
the ass.
you
I
from
appreciate
yourself.
you guys,
Absolutely.
and
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much again, and everybody, thank you for
all right.
tuning in. Again, Alex said if you had any questions or need any further advice or anything like that, he is available. So, just hit him up and go from there.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys. I don't know
I,
exactly where the
I
exit
yeah,
door
I'll
is,
handle
so
that.
if you
Don't
guys
worry.
want to boot me out of here, or if it's
But
Hey,
gentlemen, have a great rest of your night, and thank you again.
Good night. All right.
good night.
yes, ma'am.